Because I have, over the course of these last 12 hours or so since that news popped, I have gotten really annoyed with some things and some people, and I've gotten very excited about some things and some people. And so, we also have sad fans on Reddit today, by the way. Forgot about that. We're going to do sad fans in the first hour of the show. That's how you know that an Almost Entirely Sports is absolutely loaded. We're saving Jamaal Charles for the top of the second hour. Kent gets kicked to hour 3. And we'll have sad fans on Reddit making its way all the way up into the first hour. Partially, we like to bury it just in case, it's, I don't know, the FCC, when the FCC rules change. But we're going to do it in the 8 o'clock hour tonight. Bleep it.
I have to apologize.
Why do you have to apologize?
I left the show starting thing on Twitch for a while.
Oh, so no one heard anything?
I don't know, actually.
I don't think anyone probably heard
complained
anything
about it, so maybe nobody's complained about it, so maybe they heard it. I don't know. I assume they didn't. Twitch, let us know if you heard it. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while.
Since we lost Beards, R.I.P. in peace. I haven't had to really think about the video streaming thing as much. I also didn't set that up. Beards made the transition over to our current little streaming computer over there. And,
Just getting back in the flow of things. It's been a minute since I ran the stream, because I know how to run it all. It's just been a minute.
Aspen said we're just happy to have AES back. Thank you, Aspen.
Chaotic Warrior said I thought he was just yelling at Rudy. That's fair.
That is fair, because during commercial breaks and stuff, you will still see me gesticulating, yelling, getting up and trying to shut a door, all of that. Eagle-eyed viewers may later tonight see me leave the frame at about 10:30 or so and jab a needle into my belly. This is my life now. I think I brought that in with me. Hold on. And by that, I mean...
Life now or life always?
I mean my drugs. Yeah, this time, it's just that it's different now because usually, the show established a really strong sort of cocaine-y brand back in the ESPN Kansas City days. Like at one point, Beard's a real friend came over to our Halloween party on the day before Halloween. Like any good, real, true friend would. Oh, you weren't there. Oh, I forgot.
Was out of town.
But at some point, I
got to see my niece in a Dalmatian outfit.
I got to see Beards dressed up as a cowboy.
What?
So,
man,
a ghost cowboy because he's dead.
Wow.
It was just
Beards.
It was just. I mean, he was just dressed as a cowboy, but because he's dead, I knew that he was a ghost, right?
Yeah. Ice Pyro, basically Odell Beckham, happy, give us news. Jamal Charles will be on the show tonight at 9. Kent Swanson will be on the show at 10.
That's the summary for anyone who was watching and not listening.
That's Rudy.
The show. Yeah. We're all here now.
I'm gonna turn it back on.
Here's the good news though. It gives me a chance to say something that I don't mention often enough, probably. If you are listening over the radio right now, and you're like, this is great, but eventually I got to get out of my car before 11 o'clock. Let's say you're not just driving straight through the 8:10 terrestrial sweet spot for 3 hours. Maybe
your car's going to rain for a while.
That's true. But you think, hey, Josh, eventually I got to get out of my car. Maybe I won't be in my car at 9 o'clock whenever Jamaal Charles is on, but I'd love to hear you talk to Jamaal Charles. Or maybe you say, hey, Josh, I watched the show on Twitch and Rudy really bungled it tonight. Good news. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We put up every spoken second of this show goes up in the podcast feeds. You can subscribe to Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports. Or you can go to aes.show in your web browser and you can click through there.
About that podcast.
Were you not recording?
I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. I had the thought all in one swing there of... Oh, Rudy wasn't recording. Well, we could just go. We could just go get the audio out of the Twitch. Dang it! No, we couldn't. Okay, thank goodness.
Facebook? Nope.
No. Also would have not.
None of them.
So I woke up this morning and I checked my phone. I saw that tweet from Diana Rossini. I got very excited. And look, I want to make this clear from two angles. One is that I've always really liked Odell Beckham. He's just been a player that has always been tremendously fun to watch, who I would always end up with on my fantasy team, and then almost every year something disappointing would happen, at least in his Cleveland time. So I'm a little bit, like, subjectively, I like Odell Beckham, and I also want to keep liking Odell Beckham. I similarly feel that way about Deshaun Jackson, who I don't think I said this on this show, but have talked about in various places. I can't be objective about Deshaun Jackson, and assuming that he plays for the Raiders on Sunday night, I would bet the house on, at one point, Deshaun Jackson's going to be 40 yards downfield. Dan Sorensen's going to be chasing him from 5 yards behind that. And it's just a matter of, will Derek Carr put the ball there or not? And it probably will only happen once. I'm not just, today's not a Dan Sorensen dunk contest. But, and frankly, it could be Tyrann Mathieu. It could be Juan Thornhill. It could be prime Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu. And it wouldn't matter because Deshaun Jackson is always open behind both of your safeties 40 yards downfield. That's just been the case since I started watching football. Since I was in diapers. I did do the math, and I do think that his first year I was 14, so the diaper thing
still applicable.
Tracks perfectly. Technically, they were pull-ups at that point. I'm a big kid now, all of that. You just don't want to have any accidents, Better safe than sorry.
It's always better safe than sorry.
Some part of me wants to go down that rabbit hole and just see how gross. If I could literally make every single person listening to this turn off the radio or podcast or Twitch or whatever, I'm not going to. I want you all to appreciate the restraint that I just showed, especially you, Rudy. I actually don't feel like, honestly, you might have pushed me down that particular slide if we would have gotten any closer. So I'll pivot. Like, I've always loved Deshaun Jackson, and I think I had forgotten completely that he was in LA until one of those primetime games they had this year where he was open 40 freaking yards downfield behind both safeties for one of those teams. I'm
so loud.
It's the Thunder. Yeah. It's and the door is barely cracked. Like, it is as shut as I can get it, so it's just booming out there. I've always loved watching Deshaun Jackson, and I really like Odell Beckham. I'll even say I'm gonna try to acknowledge my biases on the front end here. Some of the stuff that makes people not like Odell Beckham is, unsurprisingly, some of the stuff that makes me like him more. I can't remember who said this, and I don't like this word very much, but somebody in some format somewhere said Odell Beckham was kind of the first NFL player / influencer. Which that word turns to ash coming out of my mouth a little bit. I don't really love that term. It's sort of terrible on a variety of levels. But he might be the NFL's most millennial athlete. And I've always liked that. I think basically what it means is that he's done weird stuff with his hair and he has a personality that you're allowed to see. Which, frankly, also is something that the Chiefs are very good at. Something that Jamaal Charles will literally tell you about in 45 minutes, about letting your personality show and some of the differences in the various regimes that he played through here in Kansas City.
Then there was the Miami boat.
And there was that.
No shirt, jeans, and Tim's is a choice. In Miami, on a boat,
Is it a choice? Is it a choice that I'm not supposed to like? Because I just did. Sorry.
I'm not saying you should like it or hate it. It's just an interesting choice in Miami on a boat.
It's a powerful choice, too, though.
If you were walking down the sidewalk of Miami, sure.
Is your issue just the Timbs on the boat?
Yeah, I think so.
They weren't in the water, though. They weren't swimming in them.
You should be ready to get wet at any moment if you're on a boat.
Fair enough.
You got to be ready to jump in any second.
Also, though, to be fair, I have seen you wear boat shoes in situations that you should be wearing Timbs. So you're
always ready to get on a boat.
You are in so many ways. Everywhere. You are the direct polar opposite of Odell Beckham.
I like Odell Beckham.
You wear boat shoes everywhere, always have a shirt, never wear pants.
I do love especially not just a shirt, but like a long sleeve shirt. Like I'm trying to cover it all up. Whereas Odell's doesn't want to cover any of it up.
I got very close to making a pretty funny joke that sort of combines some of the unsubstantiated and frankly hateful rumors about Odell Beckham Jr. and our previous joke about diapers.
I get it. I heard
I'm not going to indulge any of those hateful rumors because I would like for him to come play football here.
I heard a thing about Odell, and then not I guess not a thing about him, but what he should do, just like he should just decide he's done playing football and basically be like the halftime show, like just take a jug machine with you everywhere you go.
Yes.
And just run some routes, some one-handed snags. Like he could basically be the next Red Panda, the next Dogs, catching frisbees. Like
he's like the receiving end of Dude Perfect.
Yeah.
They throw football off the top of it from Jordan Love's mom's seat to the top of the stadium.
I don't know if
just
even
there.
Patrick Mahomes could do that. That's
fair.
a distance.
Have to launch it out of a T-shirt cannon or something. Rudy, also got to remind you, don't forget to put that camera on you whenever you speak. So our Facebook
I've done it a couple times.
Video. Oh, really? I've not got it.
Yeah. Done it a couple times.
I would hate for our viewers on our various Sports Radio 810 streaming platforms, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I would hate for them to not get to see your beautiful shimmering beard, which is looking great, by the way.
Thank you. We have a new TV setup. Has it switched over on your TV right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So because I was wondering there for a second, it's like because we have a new TV setup, maybe somehow that didn't come over, which wouldn't have made sense. But it was like, we'll check that out.
I just didn't notice it at all to this point.
Not a lot, but I've done it a couple times.
I just want to make sure that the audience gets the full experience. That's just so important to me.
I appreciate it. I am wearing pants today,
and I appreciate that. So I am predisposed to like Odell Beckham and to think that him being here would be fun. And we'll get way more into the weeds on this with Kent later. But it makes, purely from a football perspective, so much sense. So much sense. I was reading a piece earlier today that was, I believe it was on Touchdown Wire as a USA Today vertical. I cannot remember who wrote it. I feel bad. I'm always terrible at remembering who tweets and writes things that I later reference. But they were going through some of the different scheme reasons that Beckham would or wouldn't make sense in Green Bay and New Orleans and Kansas City. And they ran a couple of clips of some of the 3-by-1 formations the Chiefs will run, where sometimes you have to have Travis Kelce over there in sort of that X-ish spot. And how are defenses defending that versus, well, what happens if you get to have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce all on the same side of the field and Odell Beckham's the guy running like the little backside route? Also not going to make a joke about that phrasing. And what you could just get specifically in that very narrow circumstance, I was like in on. It allows you to do different things with the rest of your entire offense. It gives you another weapon that could either, first would have to make defenses respect him with production, right? Josh Gordon came to town, and defenses have not played the Chiefs any differently because the Chiefs have not forced any opposing defenses to respect Josh Gordon as like a number 1 or number 2 caliber receiver that can play that X role that really, I mean, is something that has been void or vacated since Sammy Watkins left or whenever Sammy Watkins was hurt. And Sammy Watkins is not the most prototypical X receiver of all time, but we're speaking in terms of the Chiefs offense. Here's what it boils down to be like very, very reductive. Who do you think defenses would fear in that spot more? Odell Beckham or Demarcus Robinson / Byron Pringle? Or I guess / Josh Gordon, but I was going to say we've seen it. We've gotten nothing so far watching Josh Gordon, but I mean, we haven't really seen anything from Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle on a consistent basis in any way. And I understand if you go, well, I mean, Beckham hasn't been super dominant for a little while. He's had some injuries. Cleveland was always kind of ended up being a weird fit. But man, if you think that he's got less juice right now, then again, man, no offense to Demarcus Robinson or Byron Pringle, like they're just not a number 2 receiver or a number 3 pass catcher in this offense. They're the guys that maybe they win you a matchup whenever there's a lot of attention being forced in other places, but if no one's paying attention to them, they can run the halo coverages that Andy Reid talked about a couple weeks ago over Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. You can have defenders just unhook their own chin strap, take their helmet off, grab it by the face mask, and then just beat Travis Kelce with it for the entirety of the route that he's running. Just like a club or like Myles Garrett, you know? Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce have had their issues. And part of that, at least part of it, maybe it's most of it, but at least part of that is that defenses are just saying, yeah, well, why don't we just make the two of them miserable? And we'll see what comes out of that. And what's come from that has been pretty much nothing. Having Odell Beckham in this offense would change that. And I think it would change it more clearly and more dramatically and more quickly than Josh Gordon would. I think it'd be a pretty good situation for him to be in before hitting free agency again after this season, because theoretically you're joining the Chiefs offense and then making a tangible difference. I just think it makes all the sense in the world.
A good way to put it into perspective too is at the very least, and I think this is a huge thing that he would contribute, is he gives you that Sammy Watkins impact. This Chiefs offense was better when Sammy Watkins was on the field because the defenses respected him. Even
whenever he was not directly the one reaping those benefits.
Yes. He is a player who defensive coordinators are at least not necessarily scared of, but they respect him. They acknowledge that, hey, he can make plays. We have to at least devote a little bit of attention to him. It's not just, oh, if he makes plays, fine, like it is with D-Rob and like it is with Byron Pringle and like it is with Josh Gordon. He does provide that, to where immediately you have to put some focus on him. And I think just what we've seen over the last 3-4 years, just that, even if it's just a little bit of focus, that opens Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill up a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just even that alone. Just, I think he would be productive, but even if he struggled with that adaptation for whatever reason, which reason why you see, I think it's easier for an established wide receiver to move around from teams. And
Josh Gordon hadn't been playing football for a while.
Routes are routes. Concepts are a little bit different, right? Plays are obviously a little bit different. A curl route's a curl route. All 32 teams in the NFL, right? If you know what route you're supposed to run, you know how to run that route.
Right.
But at the very least, it just helps open up so much.
And here would be if someone disagreed with that, right? We're going to try to cover all these angles if we can. I disagree. I don't think that will happen. I don't think that he would make an impact. I think he'd come here and he would be Josh Gordon again. Okay? Here's the only question that I would ask to that. And I mean, there are lots of questions, I guess. But the most important question I think I would ask to that would be, okay, what's the harm in trying? This isn't trading a third-round pick or signing him to a multi-year deal or revamping your offense for somebody. If he gets here and he's not that productive and the season ends, what have you lost for trying? I think the answer is some reps for Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson, who have gotten a good amount of work through the first half of this season, and they just are who we thought they were. Which is, again, I'm not trying to talk bleep. I think McCole Hardman has a role in this offense. His cap hit next year is like $1.6 million, I think. The Chiefs should keep him at that and have him to run some of that, some of the okie doke in the backfield. Have him run those motions. Have him be their edge stretch rushing game or whatever. I mean, there's value to that. But there's not a receiver on this offense right now who has the potential to be the answer that Odell Beckham could be. One of the potential follow-ups to what do you lose is also something that I've seen. This is a little more Chiefs Facebook than Chiefs Twitter on this front, so take that for what you will. But people have talked about, what about the locker room? Or, what if he's unhappy? Two things. One is if you bring him in on a deal that is low enough that it's basically offset by what the Browns have paid him, which I don't think anyone knows 100% for sure if that is the language in place, but it does seem most likely that any team that would pay him up to I think it's $4.25 million or something in that $4-ish million range would still be paid just once to him. he wouldn't be double dipping if there is offset language. If there's not offset language, then that could change things some. So I'm acknowledging that on the front end. Seems like there would be offset language. But if you bring him in on the veteran minimum or for a $2 million deal or whatever, the Chiefs just cleared about $1 million by trading Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. They also have more cap space than the Saints do and a little less than the Packers, according to Over the Cap. Bring him in for that. And if he is, let's just say that he's a nightmare three games after getting to Kansas City. Do you know what the Chiefs could do really easily? Put him back in on his boat in jeans and Timbs. Because the Brown situation was a bigger issue because you're talking about this long multi-year deal, and they had to eventually come to an agreement to get him out of there and all of that. And that could be stressful for a front office. I don't just mean like emotionally stressful, but I mean like financially stressful. I get that. But that's not what the team bringing him in for half a season is going to be having to work through. The other element of it, I have been accused before of undervaluing locker room guys in a positive way. And I'm not telling you that locker room culture or locker room chemistry doesn't matter or isn't real. I don't believe either of those things. I think it does matter. I think it is real. I'm going to compare some very different people here. Please don't equate all of these. Andy Reid made it work with Terrell Owens. Andy Reid made it work with Michael Vick. His first football stop after getting out of prison. Terrell Owens, just like a head case, all of that. Had a good story from Harbaugh about Terrell Owens from over a year ago, I think. Maybe we should dig that up at some point and play that story back. That was fun. They had a lot to answer whenever they drafted Tyreek Hill and then had the entire offseason of Tyreek Hill stuff. Made it through all of that. Seems beloved in the locker room. Everyone's good there. Brought in Josh Gordon, who's had his own issues. Obviously, again, I'm picking a lot of different quote-unquote locker room issues, not to equate any of them at all. Like 2 weeks ago, the most vocal voice in the defense said this might be the most toxic fan base of all football. The second, maybe most important or most credited leader from Spags, which would be Anthony Hitchens, said some stuff that was even wilder. There has been a ton of criticism on that defense. The offense isn't playing very well right now. You have all these other personalities. Travis Kelce was a quote-unquote problem when they drafted him.
A flag at a referee, which is still my favorite thing ever.
Has done a lot of things in the presence of referees. Some pretty good gifts have come from it.
Just one of the all-time greats.
Although he did it with less flair than Tony Correnti did.
Very true.
That was the most flair I've ever seen a flag thrown with. But all of those guys in their various situations and various circumstances, and I'm sure I am missing a ton of them. I just think that this locker room is going to be okay. Frank Clark, the three most important, let's say four most important leadership voices on this defense are Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hitchens, Chris Jones, and Frank Clark. Frank Clark got arrested twice this offseason. And now he's back at the podium. He's playing well again. And I don't think he's lost any clout in that locker room. Again, not equating any of these things. Willie Gay took off some time to deal with his mental health. It wasn't a long time. Chris Jones missed a few practices. I think Jones and somebody else missed practice today as like a personal day. I don't know what goes into any of those things, but you can see all these little curveballs that maybe for some coaches or maybe in some teams, for some situations, some organizations, some regimes, maybe you do end up seeing a team kind of take that punch and then stagger a little bit. I have not seen or heard that come out of an Andy Reid locker room in a long time, if ever. There were some issues with that defense and Bob Sutton's last year. And, I think that you may have gotten a little bit of a hint by how not here Justin Houston became at any point over the course of his following free agencies. And so I'm not saying, Le'Veon Bell left and then talked his bleep. But tell me how many, and they were in the Super Bowl that year. Tell me how many of those times it feels like that threw off the team. Like I just sort of implicitly trust that Andy Reid is going to do a good job of managing these various personalities because he's got 50 plus. Obviously, it's 65 counting the practice squad plus all of the coaches. Everybody on an NFL roster, in all likelihood, was the best player on their high school team and was really darn good in college. Or if you're a coach on NFL coaching staff, you are at a higher rung of the industry than almost any of your peers. Everybody's got an ego. People bring their various different kinds of baggage. Some people are, I'm sure easier to manage than others, obviously. It's how people work. But the idea that Odell Beckham is going to be a lighter thrown into a powder keg, I just don't really buy that narrative.
Also, what did the Chiefs have to lose? Even if he is,
True.
This is not a 9-0, 8-1 team that looks destined for the Super Bowl.
And the Packers are 7-2, and they're apparently in.
They need to make decisions. They need to try to figure something out to get this offense going. And we can sit here and say, that at some point it's just going to fix itself. But the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And at some point, you just have to try something different.
Yeah.
And hope for the best. Again, I don't think it would blow up in this horrible way because I don't think, I don't think almost regardless of how he performs, he's here next year because somebody else probably comes in and offers them more money than the Chiefs can.
Right.
But I just think if you're the Chiefs, you got to, if it's about winning the Super Bowl this year, you just got to try something.
Try something.
Which I think the Chiefs agree because they're clearly in on Odell.
And they also tried something for Josh Gordon.
It'll come down to whether or not Odell wants to be in Kansas City.
Right.
And I guess I don't think the money is going to be so drastically different. I don't think Odell's going to be like, I went to Green Bay because they offered $100,000 more than the Chiefs.
Right.
And if that simply was what it came down to, I think the Chiefs would probably just be like, okay, here's $100,000 or whatever.
Well, and so here's the thing about that also. What if he doesn't want to be here? What if it's like Cleveland, where he doesn't want to be there at the end? Then he'll go to New Orleans if he wants to be closer to home and play with Trevor Siemian. Or he'll go to Green Bay if he wants to play with a team with a better record right now than the Chiefs, and they'll play with Aaron Rodgers, presumably. No one is going to force him to come to Kansas City. And so I think that the odds of him coming here and then immediately causing problems, because, by the way, here's another element of that. If that happens twice in 2 months, that might hurt his next offseason
value.
His next offseason payout more than playing with Trevor Siemian could.
Yeah, he's. I believe you're going to get about the most chill Odell for the rest of the season as you can find because, I think he's a smart guy. I think he'll have plenty of people around him telling him hey, not that you have to be a saint, but just don't.
I hope he's not a saint. I hope he's a chief.
Just be like, hey, Dad.
Thank you.
Like, Dad, don't send videos of Patrick Mahomes missing your son out, right?
Right.
It's a very low bar that you have to hurdle, basically. And
Right.
I think he'll do that.
Here's two things. One, I think the Cleveland stuff is a long accumulating sort of series of issues, and again, to come to a new location, Kansas City, Green Bay, New Orleans, New England, whatever. And to immediately start causing problems would obviously be a terrible look. Also, I would like for someone to tell me specifically what Odell Beckham has done that would disqualify him from being on your football team, other than just maybe seeming like kind of a diva, I guess. But here's the last thing on the whole locker room chemistry culture front. I just think that oftentimes it is discussed as if it is something that is fragile and something that is perfectly scientifically, chemically balanced. And it's all right, we need one more hothead, and we need one more veteran leader, and then we need 3 young guns. And then we're going to have a perfectly pH neutral locker room. And I just can't imagine that that's the case. I think the Chiefs would be able to welcome him in and make that all work. Absolutely. And I think it would be really excellent for this offense. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. We'll certainly talk about it more with Kent Swanson at 10. Jamaal Charles will join us at 9. He'll speak to some of those things about Andy Reid and the culture of Herm Edwards, Todd Haley, Romeo Crennel, and Andy Reid. He was here for all 4 of those regimes.
Those are some names.
Those are some names. And Jamaal Charles talked about all those guys a little bit, which is all really good stuff. So you'll hear that at 9. But whenever we come back, Sad Fans on Reddit, Green Bay Packers edition. It'll be nice to actually, continue to hear other teams' fans being sad. Also, I imagine the Packers are probably pretty worked up about how that last game all played out. So we'll hear that whenever we come back.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live. Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
But that's not where this show makes its money. You guys know that. We make our money talking about the Chiefs. and dunking on people on Twitter.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, Rudy and I just made a production decision. I'm pretty sure you had the music play before the liner by accident this time, right? A long time ago, we started doing it. I think it was also by accident, where Beards at one point, R.I.P., where he did it by accident once. I was like, I kind of like that. I kind of like the music under the liner. And then you can make the music a little louder again right before I talk, and then you can pull it back down. We have our whole little thing there. And we did it for a while. And if I remember correctly, I think Beards just sort of stopped doing it. And I was like, hey, are we still doing the thing or did the music, like during the liner? And I believe that our conversation ended with him going, nah.
Because that's how they normally went.
That's what they go. Yeah, I mean, that's how most of our conversations would go. I do miss him though. Not that I need him like producing this show. I just wish he hadn't passed on. Do you know how absolutely effing brutal it would have been for us to joke about him dying and then for me to have actually died? No one would have believed you.
That would have been something.
Somebody else would have been hosting the nights, and you could have joked about, you could have said, R.I.P. Josh. I'm like, where did Josh go? Like, oh, he's dead. Like, we get it. You said that.
Oh, he lives in Albuquerque now.
Right, he's living in New Mexico, making and selling turquoise jewelry. No, he passed. Yeah, no, I know, but like, where is he actually?
Couldn't handle his drugs, and he passed.
That's right. Just ask Reddit. I'm not going to re-explain all that. That's for the loyalists. That's for all of you who've been here for some stuff. Let's do the thing where, again, apparently, I don't know how we're doing it. I think Beards has sort of a Ouija board / Zune. Remember the Zune?
Oh, boy, I remember the Zune.
I think he's got a Ouija board / Zune situation where from the great beyond, he's able to record into the MP3 player sad fans on Reddit. And I'm just glad to get to continue to hear his voice. So here is the Beards McFly produced Sad Fans on Reddit Green Bay Packers edition.
And now, a list of things that Green Bay Packers fans said on Reddit after losing to the Chiefs. It's like Baltimore and Minnesota are getting paid by the hour. Just end it. Ow, my penis. Tyreek Hill, probably. I'm just going to get the obligatory I can't stand Travis Kelce out of the way real quick.
Is that a thing?
Love watching ads, but hate when football interrupts it. Angry face emojis. Interesting choice of defensive scheme. Hold them to third down, then give up precisely enough for a first. Gonna be a long day if you forget Kelce exists. That drive felt like I was repeatedly getting kicked in the balls. Doesn't Kelce qualify for Medicare now? Oh, rats. Oh, wouldn't you know it? Another Crosby miss. Has Love ever thrown a football before? Jesus, how is he a first pick? Putting the special in special teams. Laces out, Finkel! Love does a lot of aggressive tonguing while playing. I seem to be drinking beers faster than I normally do today. Good Lord, Mahomes had enough time to do his taxes back there. Well, Packer people, we now have to sit back and take our medicine because Aaron was too scared to take his.
I can't believe that wasn't a medalist.
Careful, Jordan. We don't want to see Bortles in unless it's for a victory formation. I would rather drink diarrhea than watch the Dolphins in primetime.
I would rather watch the Dolphins in primetime.
Has a special teams coordinator ever been fired mid-season?
Yeah, probably.
What a show this game is. Fire the special teams coordinator at halftime, please.
It wasn't a great game.
Even when the Chiefs punt, they get the ball. Can the special teams not screw things up for like 5 seconds? That special teams off. The only good thing that came out of all of this was the ref's voice crack.
That was pretty good.
Jordan Love versus Kansas City and Green Bay special teams. The 1 year our defense is good, special teams dies, LOL. An eye for an eye. My paraplegic cousin has more athletic ability than King. I guess we're not trading the moron.
Who's that? I wonder.
Special teams personnel
that's
probably
Rodgers.
went into the wrong locker room on accident.
It took me a second.
Yeah.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Love is just a heartbreak.
No mo.
Get you a man whose is as hot as LaFleur's.
He
Matt
bleeped
is going to
out
punch a ref
piss.
this season. Book it.
He told me that one
All the
time.
Rodgers on this team having a rough week, huh? Somehow Love has a better rating than Mahomes so far. What a weird f***ing timeline this is.
It was a weird game.
I f***ing hate Troy Aikman, and it feels like all they do is make me listen to Troy Aikman. Punt returners hate Jordan Love.
I shouldn't have put that on Reddit.
You special teams. And now, one oof of things that Packers fans said on Reddit.
Oh.
Broke. Love was bad. Woke. Love was as good as Mahomes.
Oof.
And now, the bronze medal.
No
Is
interceptions.
this how Bears fans feel?
Oof.
And now the silver medal. The love train is now derailed. And now the winner of things that Packers fans said on Reddit. How many ivermectin scotches has 12 had so far?
Oh, man. Not enough to play, that's for sure.
Josh Jackson is a Piston?
Yeah. Did you know Svi is a Raptor now?
What? No.
Yeah. He had like a 20-point game or something, some huge game for the Raptors.
Sorry, everybody. If you are not watching the 1-8 Pistons take on the 1-9 Houston Rockets right now, it's
What even
probably
are
very
you doing?
confusing. I don't know. Yeah, if you are watching it, what are you doing? I love the quick debrief after a sad fans where we have a moment to do things like to ask the question of why did Beards bleep the word piss, but leave in what I would have not included in terms of at least one of those comments that felt ableist, I think would be. I don't know. You know, because I do.
It was a choice.
It was a choice. Yeah, it was a choice.
Is it the worst thing he's ever said on the radio? Probably not.
I didn't, it made me uncomfortable, but he bleeped out the word piss, which I've now said 4 times this segment. Part of me thinks that we should start screening sad fans, especially now that Beards isn't here to be accountable for his choices. But I also feel like as soon as we do that, we've lost the spirit of sad fans, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it was nice to hear Packers fans be sad because for most of last week, or at least I guess for a couple days last week, I was pretty sure that was going to go a different direction. And the Chiefs actually, won the football game, which is a nice turn of events. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, I might see if there's anything that we've missed from the chat because I have access to it, and we've got a full show where we can go through things like our Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube chats. Or we can talk a little bit whenever we come back about some of the stuff from Chiefs Packers. I think it's kind of interesting. Maybe some stuff to look ahead for in Chiefs Raiders. Maybe I'll keep talking now, and we'll only have like 2 minutes, and it won't even matter what our next segment is. It'll just be me telling you not to go anywhere, because in 10 minutes, I'll talk to Jamaal Charles. It's probably the most important tease.
At JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, at Not That Rudy, at
Get your seat in Allen Fieldhouse today.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
This show's free. It's a free show. If you don't like
shows sometimes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rudy, I sent you something that instructed you to not look at your phone till we came back. Go ahead and crack your mic open there, and you feel free to check out the group chat. I've sent you a photograph that I would like for you to take a good look.
I can't believe I missed this. I mean, like, I'm really happy that I saw, like, again, my niece was. I'll send you the picture of my niece. It's adorable.
I'm sure.
Super happy I saw it. But
No doubt.
this might be more adorable.
I have sought permission. It might be more. That's very funny.
I mean, he's smiling. Look at him. He's having the time of his life.
I have sought permission from the necessary subject here to tweet this out because it is a photo of, and I will say, it's a flattering photo.
It is.
It's a good photo of his costume. It is a photograph of Beards McFly dressed
Give him
up.
permission.
Yes! I'll tweet it out here during the next break. Before we get to Jamaal Charles. What a dumb show. I'm gonna hold it off because I got a tweet that Jamaal Charles is going to join us.
Yeah, that's probably
And
a
then
good idea.
later this evening, I will tweet out this photo of Beards just as this is just a random Thursday. He just came over to the house and he was just dressed the way that he is in this picture.
This is just his Sunday best.
Yes, it really is. Let's see. There were a bunch of things I wanted to. Iced Pyro said that on a podcast that I cannot read the name of, that the host tried to out-nugget the Denver Nuggets. He tried eating more nuggets than they scored points.
That'd be
He did not make it.
surprising.
That's a lot. How many nuggets do you think you could eat? Chick-fil-A nuggets, McDonald's
Maybe 30?
nuggets. Rudy had just said 30 in my headset as I asked him that question. So
Yeah, because like I could get a 20 down.
if you're planning for it, you know,
Yeah.
you can plan out your day for that.
I guess if I'm planning, maybe up to 40 to 50, but 30 I feel confident of.
I think 50 is the bump that I'm having
Yeah.
a really hard time getting over. We'll talk about a bunch of football and very little about chicken nuggets with Jamaal Charles, who will join us next. It's not a joke. He's really next.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Do you run out of hot? it's Greeny, and Thursday will be busy looking ahead to the start of the next NFL weekend with the MVP candidate Lamar Jackson and a whole lot more on the field. See you then. It's Greeny, starting 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN+.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You know what you do after you run the ball on 1st and 10 and you get 0 yards? You run that ball again. You establish that run.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Got a very special guest here today, and usually I feel like a long introduction for someone who's accomplished a lot of things makes a lot of sense. But I feel like if I just say Jamaal Charles is here, like a Saturday Night Live intro, I think pretty much everybody watching or listening right now is going to know everything that comes with it. Jamaal, thank you for making some time to talk to us today, and it's good to see you. Good to hear your voice.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I tweeted out yesterday. I didn't want to give away too many hints, so I just said, one of the greatest running backs of all time. One of the greatest Chiefs running backs of all time, great running back at Texas. I think people may have figured it out. And there was a lot of excitement for people to be able to hear you. Because it's been a little bit since we've heard from you on a regular basis around here. You retired a Chief a couple years ago, got to go through the facilities and see Andy Reid, and again, took a handoff from Patrick Mahomes. But what was that experience like, and what have you been up to these last couple of years?
Oh, man, I've been enjoying myself, my family. I got a great partnership with Main Event through November 30 throughout the Kansas City area. Jamaal Charles family packages for $24.99 per person, one VHR game and one 10-game cards and one unlimited activity like bowling and billions of laser tags and unlimited fountain drinks and one large pizza for the group. So I've been kicking it with Main Event.
It's great. Again, you can get this at any of the 3 Kansas City area locations: Kansas City, Missouri, and Olathe, and in Independence. Again, just under $25 per person for everything that Jamaal just laid out there. What's your personal favorite thing at Main Event? I did see the gravity ropes. I did that one time, and then I will spend my time doing something else. Getting high up off the ground and standing on ropes, not for me. But I've never been particularly agile. That's not true for you.
My kids definitely like the gravity rope. They had fun. Me, I was enjoying my drink and eating my pizza, and then just laughing at them. They waving at me like I'm far off, but I'm just right there. They waving me, "Hey, Dad," and I'm waving back at them. "Hey, be safe up there." And they try to get me to come up there. I'm like, "Oh man, maybe one day."
Yeah, I think you've probably sort of proven your athletic prowess and your feet skills. I don't think anyone should probably be questioning that. Well, I'm going to talk more about Main Event in a minute as well, make sure everyone gets all that information. But I also want to ask about some of the things you accomplished over the course of your career and some truly like incredible things. I know this is going to just sound like blind flattery, but it's also true. Like, I have never seen anyone play the sport of football like you did. Like, watching you run through a defense, it seemed like you were on ice skates and everybody else was like chopping through quicksand. What was it like to be playing football that way at the peak of your powers, knowing that you must have known, I would think, that you had something that other guys just simply didn't have?
Yeah, I mean, every time I stepped on the field, I wanted to play like a future Hall of Fame. And, what I'm saying, that's why, I guess that was my mindset. What I'm saying, if I want to play this game, I want to be one of the greatest, up there mentally one of the greatest. And that was my goal, is to continue to build my craft, get good at my craft. So every time I stepped on the field, people know that I had a household name. You know what I'm saying? I was playing to see my jersey throughout the stadium. I wanted to pull up to the stadium and see 25. And that was, my mindset. My mindset was like, okay, I want to see a whole bunch of kids with Jamaal Charles jerseys on. And that's why every time I try to step in the field, I wanted to, I was doing it for people that had total disability, growing up. So that they said that they would never be nothing. And that was also one of my goals as well. But every time, I know if I practice hard, I work hard, everything will pay off in the game. and I wanted to be one of the best in Chief history.
I mean, and check. I think that whole list sounds like you accomplished it. You said 3 words though that I was going to ask you about. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. You mentioned when you played, like you wanted to end up in the Hall of Fame. And your career is so interesting because I don't know how much you look back on as some of the newer, like new age analytics and numbers and way of measuring running backs go. People are using that over the last 20 years. And there's one chart in particular that I have seen go around many times where you are literally in a class by yourself. Like there are incredible running backs a mile behind what you were able to accomplish. So have you followed up on any of that? Do you take any pride from seeing your career viewed that way through a new lens? And also, do you need someone to personally head up your Hall of Fame campaign? I know a lot of people who'd be happy to help.
Oh man, I would love everybody to help me out on that note. But you know what I'm saying? My goal was my story is so unique because I was the first of all kind, I feel like. And when I say first of all kind, I was the first person that rushed for 1,000 yards basically in 10 games.
Unbelievable.
Under 200 carries. So like I kind of brought those numbers up, and also you know what I'm saying, also with the yards per carry, you know what I'm saying, crazy, you know what I'm saying, that I'll be averaging this throughout my careers. I didn't need to touch the ball 25, 30 times a game, you know what I'm saying? All you just needed just give me a little crease, a little space, and that's all I needed. So you know, I mean, and some of the running backs I know ahead of me, you know what I'm saying, that don't really have two all pros, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm the only one in my class, in my draft class with 2 all pros, and I really got 3 total together with 1 second team. So I mean, it's hard to take things for granted, you know what I'm saying? But it is to take things for granted, you know what I'm saying? Be happy for those things that, you know what I'm saying, that you accomplish. And you're not going to be cocky about it, but that's just show you that yes, your hard work, you deserve that, you know what I'm saying? So that's all. That's all I was trying to do, just basically be a future Hall of Fame.
And again, you're right. Some of the stats that have maybe been taken a little bit for granted from people, stuff like, again, incredible yards per carry averages over your entire career. Maybe we get to a point before too long where people start looking at that and saying, wait a second, I'm sorry, what happened in Kansas City through that time? Because that's unbelievable. One thing that came up a lot whenever I tweeted that I was going to be able to talk to you today. First of all, a lot of people want to know if you're free on Sunday and if you've got 10 or 12 carries in you. But also people were very curious what you feel like you'd be able to do in the Chiefs offense of these last few years, right? You've got Patrick Mahomes changing the quarterback position. Obviously, you spent a bunch of time with Andy Reid, even though you started when you're drafted, when Herm Edwards was still in Kansas City. So you saw a lot of different coaches and regime changes and everything. But do you ever look at the Chiefs offense and think, yeah, I could put up, I don't know, 3,000 yards from scrimmage over the course of a season? You got 17 games now too.
Yeah, I definitely. People don't understand that I was starting to become like one of the running back out of the backfield that can catch the ball. You know what I'm saying, that can make things happen in open field. You put me in space, and that's what Coach Reid understood, that this guy can catch the ball like a wide receiver, and then not just catch, he can also hit the home runs, and if you give him space. So I was with the type of offense they running now with Pat at quarterback. I know I would have a lot of, like an Alvin Kamara like having like right now. I'd be having Alvin Kamara years right now. So catching out line of scrimmage, yards from scrimmage wouldn't be no doubt. You know what I'm saying? That's how people use me on Madden. You know what I'm saying? Just catching, just running straight goals.
I was going to actually ask about current running backs that you look at as playing a similar style. Kamara, it seemed like the best comparison. There's some great running backs in the league right now, but in terms of being able to catch the ball like you were doing, he's got to be the closest comparison, right?
Yeah, Kamara is more like an athlete. You know what I'm saying? They line him at wide receiver. They do jet sweeps with him. They do a lot of screens with him. They put him out in space. I like the way they use Alvin Kamara. I think that's the way I would have went. I feel like they would have used me as well. You know, when anytime they need to run, you know, he can make the big runs. One kid I know that's coming along right now is Jonathan Taylor right now for the Indiana Colts. This guy is explosive too, man. So he's scary too, man. When he get in open field, he know how to smell the end zone. So him and you have Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's sorry that he had a season injury, but man, this guy here is a different. He's a monster on a football field. His size, his strength, his speed, his arms. It's crazy.
Yeah, he could have come straight out of a Marvel movie. Like he just doesn't.
Yeah.
He makes other NFL football players look small and slow. I know they're not. I know no one playing NFL football is small or slow, but he has that effect on people. You mentioned that Andy Reid was kind of the guy who went, wait a second, this guy can run and catch passes like a receiver. You also, were here that first year with him and Alex, it's several years after as well, but specifically in that first year, whenever obviously the team had been struggling for a while to really get a foothold, and then Andy Reid comes in and kind of takes over the organization. What was that like, and what was your sort of first few experiences with Andy Reid like? How did you guys' relationship evolve?
Oh man, we had some bumpy roads, but Coach Reed, he's basically he's a coach's player, coach, or basically like he loved his players. He talked to his players. He communicated with his players. He's honest with his players. That's why so many people like him a lot because one day Coach Reed called me in the office. Hey, I got these 5 plays right here on the board right here. We thinking about giving you the ball right here. Just like, what I'm saying, never had no coach come approach me like this and, hey, come talk to me in the office. I got these plays drawn up just for you. And I'm like, I'm hyped up, you know what I'm saying? So stuff like that. And Coach Reed, he do it his way and he know his way is successful. And I know Coach Reed, he have the players that are leaders in the locker. He depend on the leaders in the locker room to get the players together. And because of the player like Pat, a lot of people look up to him. Player like Travis, Tyreek Hill, Terron Matthews, Chris Jones, Frank. A lot of people look up in the locker room. So he goes to those core guys that people know that, this day team. And the other guy, the team, the guys that he volunteered to be coach, to be that come to him, he let them go talk to them guys. And if they have any issues, those 10 guys come to Coach Reed and we all throw out what's the deal going in the locker room, and he listens, and then he'll make some adjustments, and then that's how good he is instead of a coach that's just rebelling against his players.
Yeah, you said you've never had a coach that's had you come in and be like, hey, look at these plays on the board or whatever. But what about that second aspect of using the word rebelling against their players? Like it seems like there can be that sort of tension in organizations that are spiraling. Did you have a time whenever you went, man, this is not a good dynamic, that made you kind of appreciate the better dynamic that Reed and all of his guys brought?
Yeah, my first year there, I feel like it was Coach Herman. He was a good coach, but I feel like all the pieces he put together as a coaching staff, it just wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, coaches, you got certain coaches come in, think they the man and think they this and that. And that didn't work, you know what I'm saying? So next we had Coach
Haley was after was
Coach
Haley right after that, yeah.
Coach Haley, a good coach, but he was so arrogant as a coach where, you know what I'm saying, he don't like his feet. And not saying like the play, he talked to his players crazy. It's his way. He's not taking your opinions, you know what I'm saying? Basically, so players are not feeling him. Mm-hmm. Like that's how it's not working. And you know what I'm saying? I felt bad for Coach for
Romeo.
Coach Romeo came in. It was, you know what I'm saying, he's so friendly, he was so nice, but he didn't have that chance to get that, another year. And then that's when Coach Andy Reid came, and it was just like, dang, it was just like, man, where you been all my career? So
yeah, that's how a lot of Chiefs fans
yeah.
felt also. You had that in common with a lot of people watching those coaches and then eventually having Andy get to town.
Yeah. So I shout out for like the Hunts family for able to make that approach, because that changed the dynasty of the franchise, of bringing somebody like Coach Reed that know how in and out, O's and X's and O's about football, know how to teach his players, know how to put his players in positions where let them be them. You know what I'm saying? All these other coaches is like, we gonna put you in this mold. I'm gonna mold you like I want you. Instead of Coach Reed, he let you do your own identity. That's you. You know what I'm saying? Be your own person. I never heard nobody say that when it came to the Chiefs. He's like, be yourself. I'm like, what? You said I can be myself? I couldn't be myself. So it would feel good to able to like, it was a release of freedom, basically. Basically, like just act like your character, like you're supposed to be. This your character, and don't do nothing else. Be yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it also is something that Eric Bieniemy has talked about some. I know he's your running backs coach whenever Andy Reid came to town. Now he's obviously offensive coordinator, has had some head coaching buzz and everything. I know we got to get you out of here quickly, so I'm going to get a few rapid fire questions at you, and then we'll talk about main event one more time. We'll get you out of here. First, do you have an Eric Bieniemy story where you kind of got a feel of what that dude is generally about? Because he is very good now at talking at the podium like a coach.
Yeah,
I know he does not always talk that way.
Nah, Coach Bieniemy never talked that way. He's definitely mature and calm down. You know what I'm saying? To you know what I'm saying, he's got better things. I still talk to Bieniemy, but me and Bieniemy used to always butt head, boom, at practice, in each other about to fight. You know what I'm saying? He's that coach, but I think he brought the best out of me though. You know what I'm saying? Coach Bieniemy, he don't do nothing to basically. He still, you know, we might fight, but he still, hey, let's go out to eat. You know what I'm saying? He still act like a homeboy at the end of the day. Let's go come to my house and see my family, eat barbecue, let's cook and have drinks together. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of people would say Coach Bieniemy as like a mean coach, but he's just one of them coaches that, you know what I'm saying? He wants the best for you. That's the first coach that ever told me about details. That's the first coach. No other coach never told me about details of Coach Bieniemy. That's like I tell you, I didn't know how to spell details when Coach Bieniemy came here, and he taught me so much detail throughout my career that you know that you can see when him and Coach Reed came together. The details of the game changed my playing from football. That's how I improved so much because he brought the details, and that's how I know. That's why Pat's successful because I know Coach Bieniemy teaching about details. It only takes a little. All you need in football is a little inches of detail that can help you advance your career, and I know that's what Bieniemy did to all the players on offense, from Tyreek Hill, from Travis, from Pat Hills.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. And again, a side of Bieniemy that he doesn't always bring that. He's never tried to fight any of us in the media room. You know, we've never had that, which is probably for the best. Okay, rapid.
I was like, just tell him. Oh, go ahead.
No, you please. We're gonna get to talk to him. I'm gonna get to talk to him later today. So if you've got anything you'd like me to pass along, I'd be happy to.
I just tell him. Jamaal said. One day we had gotten an argument, and I stormed out the room to go to Coach Andy Reid. Man, I want him gone. Coach Andy Reid didn't say nothing. I was like, man, Coach Reid loved Coach Bieniemy, man. So I couldn't get Bieniemy out of there. I know Coach Reid can't get him out of there right now.
That's so good. I'll see if he's got anything for us on that today. I'll see if we can get that to him. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear about that. A few Twitter questions I'll rip off real quick. What was your favorite play type? Favorite type of play to run in your time with the Chiefs?
Stretch plays, zones, not in the gun, just like underneath the center, quarterback handing out to me in zone.
Who wins a race between you and Tyreek Hill at each of your fastest?
I say Tyreek.
What if you both have to carry a football with you?
I say me.
Okay, that's what I was hoping for. What's your favorite TV show? What have you been watching in the last year?
I've been watching Too Hot to Handle.
Really? Okay. And then I already asked you your favorite thing at main event, but I should at least say one more time. Everybody else can go find their favorite thing at main event because you've partnered with the main event in the Kansas City area through November 30th. The Jamaal Charles family package is $24.99 per person, includes one VR game, one $10 game card, one unlimited activity like bowling, billiards, or laser tag, unlimited fountain drinks, and one large pizza for the group. Again, there are locations in Kansas City, Missouri, Independence, and Olathe. Jamaal, thank you very much for making the time today. Anything else about main event that you want to tell people about here today?
No, I mean, yeah, I personally love main event. All the times with my family, always a blast when I go there with the kids and friends and family. It's good for old kids and adults, and as active always activities to do for everybody. And I just want to thank Main Event for the partnership.
Awesome. Well, Jamaal, I want to thank you for taking some time to talk to us here today. I look forward to seeing you out there. Let's go 5 to 10 carries on Sunday. I'm just going to not let you shoot it down. I'm just going to report exclusively Jamaal Charles could be back. Another one-day deal with the Chiefs. Maybe?
It just depends on after the next day, though. My knees probably.
Thank you, Jamaal. Hopefully we get to chat again soon.
All right. Thank y'all.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports?
Thanks again to Jamaal Charles for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation. It looks like at least some of those folks in the Twitch chat did. Thank you, everyone who said good things in there so far. And to the one, spam bot in our YouTube comments, glad you enjoyed it as well. I want to tell you real quick again, I'm going to give you one more time because Jamaal Charles joined us on behalf of Main Event. I want to tell you again some of the details here of the Jamaal Charles package. I'll tell you what, if you go to Main Event and you get the Jamaal Charles package, tell them Almost Entirely Sports sent you. I don't think that will do anything, but it would sound good to say.
Whisper it gently into their ears.
Please go up and say, hi, I like the Jamaal Charles package. Joshua Brisco sent me.
Put your hand on their shoulder, get real close, and just say, Almost Entirely Sports send us.
I didn't even like you doing that into the microphone. That was unpleasant for me. So this is, again, at Main Events in the Kansas City area through November 30th. So the rest of the month, the Jamaal Charles family package is $24.99 per person. Includes a VR game, a $10 game card, an unlimited activity like bowling, billiards, or laser tag, an unlimited fountain drink, and a large pizza for the group. That's at the three Main Event locations, one in Kansas City, Missouri, one in Olathe, one in Independence. So if you want to go,
deal.
It's a great deal, and I have not been in a while.
I went there for my cousin's graduation like May.
Oh, really?
So it's been a minute, but not that long. It was
it's
we
great.
did all those things.
Yeah, they're wonderful. I guess didn't you and I go shoot a video at one?
That was Dave and Buster's.
Well, now I feel like a fool. You know what? That was Dave and Buster's, which sucks because Main Event rules.
Yeah, it does.
That other place has the
lighting was poor.
Has the Peyton Hillis package. That's unfair to Peyton Hillis. But seriously, if you haven't been to Main Event, whenever we went, we didn't do anything fun. That other place, we just went and shot a video and then left. So that was the last time I'd been there. I went once for a friend's birthday, and I mentioned when talking to Jamaal there that I did the sky gravity rope thing, and I just reinforced in me how big of a weenie I am. Because it is. But I feel like everyone should do it because it is such a wild feeling. The whole thing is great, though. I really do enjoy Main Event, and I also enjoyed talking to Jamaal Charles. He told that story there about Eric Bieniemy and some of the times that they would butt heads, and the times that you would end up at odds to the point of going into Andy Reid's office and saying, "You got to get rid of this guy." I was able to talk to Jamaal on Thursday, so 6 days ago. Conveniently, we had that chat the morning before I went out to Chiefs press conferences for Chiefs Coordinator Day, and Eric Bieniemy took the podium. And so I got to, with the proper context, of course, tell him that I just had a chance to talk to Jamaal Charles, that he spoke very highly of him, which is absolutely true, but also told me a little bit of a story about a time that they butted heads to the extent that he tried to get Eric Bieniemy kicked all the way out of here. And Eric Bieniemy had a lot of good stuff to say about that and about Jamaal.
Well, here's the thing. So first of all, I always tell my guys, I coach hard, but I coach fair, okay? I'm going to be your biggest fan, but I'm also going to be your harshest critic. And so the thing that we're going to do is make sure that we're accountable to one another, because my job is to make sure I'm preparing you to be at your best. And sometimes, players miss the love that you have for them when you're giving them constructive criticism. Now, that constructive criticism can come from me in a very, very unique way. And so I like to think it's special with care and all that. But the unique part about it, Jamaal was a dynamic football player. On top of that, Jamaal is probably one of the best people that I've had an opportunity to work with. So, it was a very, very fun opportunity. And the thing about it, you count your blessings, because I was blessed and fortunate to have an opportunity to work with Jamaal. And I'm sure he probably felt the same about me. But he made me a better coach, and on top of that, he made me a better person.
Just a good clip. I love getting to hear a little bit of those stories from both angles there. One is because, man, we never You never find out that the star running back tried to get the running back coach. And I was going to say try to get the running back coach fired. This wasn't like I did not get the feeling in any way this was a master plan of sabotage and weeks. It was a heated moment, and you never get that kind of vulnerable part of the conversation from anybody until way after the fact. And then you so rarely get to hear the coach's side of it. And then you also understand that at the end of it, Jamaal said they'll text each other. They have this immense respect for each other, but to get a little snapshot of the rocky parts early on as they're figuring each other out, and as Eric Bieniemy is an incredibly unique coach, particularly in the Chiefs ecosystem, where for Jamaal Charles to talk about, as he did in our conversation there, to talk about how jarring it was for coaches to tell him that he should be himself, I just thought was such a special thing. Because around here, it's literally a joke a little bit of, what Eric Bieniemy is very good at his coach speak, even though that's a very different version, and that's a small portion of Eric Bieniemy, right? But he'll have all of these various phrases, and every once in a while he'll hit you with a let your beautiful personality show. I remember making a joke the first time I heard him say that I wanted that embroidered on a pillow, and I said joke, and only barely, because it's honestly great. But the thing that it makes sense, but the thing I don't think I necessarily realized right out of the gate is how rare it is.
As I say, yeah, in a league in where personality is frowned upon.
Yeah.
In so many situations, vast majority of the time, having a personality is considered a negative. Tom Brady might be. He is the greatest quarterback to ever play this game. He might be the best football player to ever play this game. And Bill Belichick did not want him to have any sort of personality. And to Tom Brady's credit, he really didn't.
Yep.
And then he went off to college. Now he's just living his best life.
To go from Todd Haley, there's a little Romeo Crennel in there. Like Jamaal said, very nice man who just never really got a full chance to get his whole deal in there. That's totally fair. But to essentially go from Todd Haley to Andy Reid, in that context, it all makes more sense. That's something that would not apply to every single coaching staff or to every player or whatever. And I can't imagine what it was like to be one of two players on the offensive side of the football, really, at least skill position guys, who are excellent at their job for any period of time, because Jamaal Charles and Dwayne Bowe both were for a little bit. They overlapped a little bit there. Obviously, Dwayne Bowe didn't have the sustained success of Jamaal Charles, but I'm also never going to pretend to be objective about Dwayne Bowe.
Love Dwayne Bowe.
He was great on the team that I rooted for in the most impressionable part of my football watching life.
Was it 2011? Was that the Pro Bowl year?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Year it was.
It was magical, though. I had him on every fantasy team because I was irrational about him even before that.
He was great. I think my first memory of Dwayne Bowe is a ball that looked like it was clearly being thrown to Tony Gonzalez and him essentially cutting in front of Tony Gonzalez to catch it. And it was just like, hell yeah.
Is it weird? Is it weird to remember Dwayne Bowe and Tony Gonzalez being on the same team?
Yeah,
it's that feels like two different eras.
Absolutely,
that's jarring to me. I want to fact check you. Like, wait a second, when was Tony Gonzalez's last year? And I've done that with Jamaal Charles for years now. If you say quick, take a snapshot of the field with Jamaal Charles on it. Who just handed him the football and who's on the sideline? I'd say, Matt Castle handed him the football and Todd Haley is over there on the sideline. And maybe it's because he was the only real bright spot of those times for the most part, and was obviously so clearly the most dynamic thing on the field during that time that maybe that just is sort of what washes over you. Maybe that's what is the easiest thing to remember. But Jamaal Charles in the Andy Reid and Alex Smith offense was borderline unstoppable. And so there's a little bit there from Jamaal on two fronts. On the coaching and actually seeing your players' personalities as their strengths front, because I think that is, again, something that's pretty consistent throughout the Andy Reid coaching tree. I think Matt Nagy, is the one that has just like BU written on his laminated play sheet. Not that he's been incredibly successful in Chicago or whatever, but that trait going through the Andy Reid coaching tree. There's that side of it, and there's also Jamaal giving them credit, giving Andy Reid credit for like, oh, wait a second. This dude catches the football like a receiver, and we can use that. I know we've had this conversation with our dear friend Seth Kaiser multiple times, but it feels apt to mention it again now. And it's clear that Jamaal Charles would love this honor, which everyone would, but I thought he brought it up before I did, and I was planning on bringing it up. Jamaal Charles belongs in the Hall of Fame to me.
Absolutely.
There are two running backs with very different potential paths to Canton, and I think they should both be there. Jamaal Charles was one of the most outrageous things any of us have ever seen on a football field. He didn't do it consistently for a decade because of injuries, but he played the running back position at a level that literally no one else in this era of football has ever even gotten close to.
And the problem is that to the mass, I would say the mass consensus is he wasn't even the best running back of his time in the NFL. It was Adrian Peterson, even though it was Jamaal Charles. But it's just Adrian Peterson was the guy, right? He was the guy who got all the he got all the attention, and part of that is because he tore his ACL and then 4 months later ran for 2,000 yards.
Right,
super impressive. Dude is a Hall of Famer. He is a NFL Hall of Famer. Jamaal Charles was doing things that even Adrian Peterson wasn't doing, but he never fully got that respect. In part because of Adrian Peterson, and part because the Chiefs are just kind of meh.
That is, I think, a huge part of it.
Yes. He was
and
never
Adrian Peterson was a superstar in college and was able to ride that wave. And again,
he was
rightfully
never
so.
on that spotlight. And honestly, Jamaal Charles had to deal with Adrian Peterson a lot because he was overshadowed a bit in college because of Adrian Peterson.
Good point.
AP was at Oklahoma, he was at Texas.
Two SEC powerhouses.
But Jamaal Charles is absolutely, and especially for a position which I feel like you would think, especially now where we just recognize that most people's philosophy is you draft a running back, you have him for his rookie deal, and that's 4 or 5 years, and then you let him go because they're just going to fall off a cliff because that's just the nature of the position. It's not the running back's fault. That's just how the position is because it's such a violent, physical position.
Which, again, I think, and I mentioned this to him, and he sort of validated that this feels good, but some of the ways we look at the running back position now only amplify how outrageously dominant he was at that position, which is an incredibly difficult place to be dominant at.
Yeah, and you would think that, you would hope that there would be this understanding that, you know what, you don't have to be elite as a running back for 10 years. Because it's almost impossible to be elite as running back for 10 years, especially in this NFL.
That's right.
It was a little bit easier in the 80s when literally that's just guy, and not to knock on an 80s running back, but it was just whether, even if a guy was kind of washed, he got 400 carries a year, it seemed like, right? Yeah. So it was easy to add up those numbers a little bit more. And it was just, that's just how and again, it's just, NFL is a different beast back then compared to now.
Also,
Jamaal Charles made an impact in a way that running backs do not make impacts anymore.
5 out of 6 consecutive years, he had over 1,300 yards from scrimmage. The only year he didn't was when he got hurt in week 2 or whatever it was.
And it's also the yards per carry stat has always been the thing. Like that to me should be like more than anything. It's like, hey,
it's
this
outrageous.
Is why. Because he was doing things that like Jim Brown wasn't doing.
He averaged 5.4 yards per carry on his career. He averaged 6.4 in 2010, 6.9 in 2011.
And a lot of that he was averaging over 6. If it wasn't for him, honestly, just trying to play in the NFL for the last 3 years of his career or whatever, there was a time where he was over, I think he was over 6 for his career maybe? He was
So from that stretch of 09 through 14, he was 5.5. So really, it ended up evening out pretty quick. Those last few years he didn't end up honestly getting as many touches there. Yeah. So it's crazy that in Denver he averaged 4.3 on his 69 carries. It's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice.
The other running back, by the way, that with a very different path that I think should be in the Hall of Fame is Frank Gore.
Yeah.
Who's boxing now, by the way.
Fighter Frank Gore.
Because like they have almost inverse arguments where Frank Gore just was able to be very, very, very good for an incredibly long time, was able to stay healthy through all that. Jamaal Charles, and again, I don't even want to say that I don't want people to forget or to think, well, he was incredible for 2 years or something like that.
No, yeah, because it was 5. I mean,
2009 through 2014, that 6-year span, there was the 1 year stolen by injuries. Outside of that, dude was a monster.
I mean, and again, this is the thing that hurts Jamaal Charles because why am I just now drawing my mind's gone blank on the Denver Broncos running back who got in the Hall of Fame just a couple years ago, played with Elway.
Terrell Davis.
Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis had a similar type of career.
Yeah.
It was not long. It was short. He won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And that, right, like he was the running back of that generation. He was the running back of the NFL at that time. And unfortunately, Jamaal Charles got overshadowed by Adrian Peterson and the lack of playoff success.
And just never was on that stage.
And if he's in the playoffs, right, like if he has big playoff runs, then he might overshadow than Adrian Peterson. But
I would like to refute that comparison on Terrell Davis here.
Because wasn't Terrell Davis like?
Because Terrell Davis could not hold a candle.
No, I'm not.
Hold on.
I'm not saying the numbers are the same. I'm just saying like it
no,
is.
He's a Hall of Famer now.
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer. Here, everyone just listen to me.
Because Jamaal has better numbers than him last time I looked.
The first 4 years of his career, Terrell Davis was stupendous. If you go yards from scrimmage, there's about 1,500 yards, 1,800 yards, and then 2 years back-to-back with over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. That's crazy.
Yep.
Over a 4-year span. And then then he had about 1,000 all-purpose yards the rest of his career.
His knees, like Jamaal started having knee injuries, his knees went. But the thing that benefited him, Super Bowls.
He won Super Bowls during those years.
And he was, for those 4 years, he was viewed as the guy. And again, and this is where you go back to the Adrian Peterson, and that hurts Jamaal. And the team not being all that great. They weren't bad there towards the end of his last 2 great years. The Chiefs were good, but they weren't great. Like right, they were losing to the they lost to the Colts.
Yes,
like there was that game.
The 4 years of Terrell Davis being incredible are incredible. Again, these are some very, very good stat lines, but he had 8,887 yards from scrimmage. Can we just give Terrell Davis one more yard, please? And Jamaal ended up over 10,000.
Yeah.
He's a 10,000 yards from scrimmage player.
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
And if longevity matters at all there, like the fact that he was able to get another 1,000 yards his second to last year in Kansas City on still very limited work, got another 400 and change with the Broncos in 2017. Give him the boost for that.
He should be in the Hall of Fame because, again, for 6 years, and it was obviously 5 out of 6, but for a 6-year stretch, he did things we've never seen a running back do in the NFL before. Yeah. And Frank Gore should be in because he did something we've almost never seen before also by just being a good running back. Like, to be in the Hall of Fame, you need to at least be elite at something. Frank Gore's elite ability was to be out there.
His elite ability was elite ability.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's outstanding.
I like that as a litmus test for Hall of Fame eligibility. What did you do that no one else did?
I also think it's fair to just adjust things to the position, right? Like, a running back being elite for 5 years is a long time for a running back.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen often. I mean, again, like, look at Derrick Henry, right? Like, the last 18 months, he's done some absurd things, right? Like, he has done some things that you just don't see very often, right? He's been kind of a unicorn in a way.
Yep.
And now he's probably out for the rest of the year because, like, that's just how running back goes.
And you know who's there to pick it up from where he left off?
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian bleeping Peterson in 2021. It's ridiculous.
Kudos, Adrian. Jamaal should go in the Hall of Fame. I totally understand that. Like, he definitely won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It'll be a crime if, like, a day doesn't come where he's alive and he gets into the Hall of Fame. Because it should 100% happen.
It's hard for me to even think of a good comparison in any other form. I guess honestly, I kind of think in a bizarre way, Frank Gore is the right thing to play through there, because it's not just something that you go. Adrian Peterson is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
how many running backs are going to be, because right now, I don't think you can say almost anyone who's active, at the top of the game right now, because you don't know what Nick Chubb's going to look like in 2 years.
I think the best candidate just got hurt for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Because Derrick Henry, obviously, he has a 2,000-yard season last year, and then he was on pace to eclipse, I think, everything this year. You post back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, who knows what you do even for the next 2 years. But again, now he's hurt for the rest of the year, right? He's no longer going to have that back-to-back 2,000-yard rushing season in his career because of injuries.
And if the long-term stuff matters, Derrick Henry has about 7,600 total yards from scrimmage to Jamaal Charles being over 10,000. If Derrick Henry never played again, he would get Hall of Fame votes.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I would get it. Or if he just was never the same. And again, Jamaal Charles had ACL injuries, plural. It was ACLs both times,
yes.
right?
One of them too, if I remember right. Because I feel like I can see it.
Is it the step
against the Lions? Out of bounds.
Yes,
he stepped out of bounds.
I think he stepped on the first down marker on the ground
because he slid a little bit.
It's nice to know that both of us have let that. I wonder if he's let that. I think he seemed more at peace about that than you or I do right now.
I can picture it in my head, man. I can see the play.
Yeah, it's haunting. It's so frustrating. But if Derrick Henry had a couple of years, maybe he has a lesser year with Tennessee next year, and then he gets hurt again, and he ends up going somewhere else for a couple of years, you could say, hey, tell me who has done football like Derrick Henry. I'm like, I don't know. Probably not many people. So should we be a Hall of Famer? Yeah, maybe. I'm good with it. That maybe, maybe that's the argument.
And that's part of the story, right? So, if for Jamaal, it's the fact that, hey, he wasn't an elite running back for 10 years because of injuries. That's part of the story. Before these 5 years, I mean, again, it's part of Terrell Davis' story, right? Nobody's going Terrell Davis was the best running back in the NFL for 12 years. No. He was elite for 4, won 2 Super Bowls, had some amazing moments, and then his knees went. And that's part of the story.
Yeah.
Not every story has to be the same. And then, it's guy played 15 years in the NFL. Not every story has to be Emmitt Smith. Dude just was in the NFL forever and was good for forever, right? He was like Frank Gore in the sense that he was in the league forever, but he played at an insanely high level for pretty much all those years until he went to Arizona. And even then, he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
He was but he became just an average running back, which at 40 or however old he was is impressive. It's okay to just be like, hey, yeah, this guy had an elite stretch. Injuries cut it short. That sucks. Let's remember him because he was great.
I wish Jamaal Charles was on this offense.
Just 1 year with Patrick. That's all I wanted.
And honestly, maybe I'm getting soft in my old age. But yesterday, when we talked to Seth, there was some talk about the couple of times that Darrell Williams or Jerick McKinnon didn't fully take advantage of a situation, couldn't completely make a play. And maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire would have, and maybe not. It is what it is. But for Jamaal Charles to be the guy that is getting some of this, just imagine specifically with how this year has gone, with some of the shorter stuff, you get to pick the one of a incredibly small handful, if not the one of one running backs of this era that has mattered. And he's the guy that gets to take advantage of some of those matchups. He's the guy that gets to take some of the short stuff in the backfield because the safeties are 1.5 miles away. So you can dump the ball into the flat to Jamaal Charles. I would enjoy seeing that. But honestly, I feel lucky to have gotten to see him in his prime when we did. So, we need to take a break. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I'll probably just be, wistful about this fictional offense I'm building again for a couple minutes. And then in a little while, Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network will join us. That's in about 10 minutes from here on Almost Entirely Sports.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio.
basically just a promo of me telling you Kit Swanson's about a minute away here on Almost Entirely Sports. And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell you again. Main event, the Jamaal Charles special. It's good for the 3 Kansas City area main event locations, KC Mo, Independence, and Olathe. You can get $25 a person, $24.99 actually. I rounded it up by a penny, and I shouldn't have. And you can get a VR game, a $10 game card, unlimited activity on something like bowling, billiards, or laser tag, an unlimited fountain drink, and a large pizza for the group. $25 per person. Just go to one of the Kansas City area main event locations and ask for the Jamaal Charles special. And they'll give you a pair of cleats, and then all of a sudden you'll be able to glide on a football field like you're rollerbladed. Nope, hold on. I just read the terms and conditions. That's not actually true. Everything else is, though, which is still pretty amazing. We'll talk about a bunch of other Chiefs stuff with our friend Kit Swanson of KCSN next here on Almost Entirely Sports.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The holidays are almost here, so raise a glass and give a cheer. Celebrations are back this year. Get your party started at Hy-Vee's Holiday Wine and Spirits Sale. It's the perfect time to stock your bar and save 15% when you mix and match 6 or more bottles. That's right, save 15% on your holiday favorites like Bailey's, Fireball, Tito's, Jack Daniel's, and Crown Royal when you mix and match 6 or more 750 milliliter bottles. Get 15% off your favorite red, white, and bubbly wine when you mix and match 6 or more. Want to save even more? Just scan the H-shaped QR code at your local Hy-Vee for hundreds of other amazing deals. Hy-Vee reminds you to celebrate safely and drink responsibly. Bring on the holiday cheer and dash to the Wine and Spirit Sale now through Sunday at your Kansas City, Missouri Hy-Vees. Product of
wins the American League Reliever of the Year award, while in the National League, that goes to Josh Hader of the Brewers.
Coming up Thursday, I'll tell you why OBJ is actually the answer for a team to go from Super Bowl contender to Super Bowl favorite and win it all. That's Thursday morning on Keyshawn, J. Will and Max on ESPN Radio.
Sports Talk powered by fans. Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. The power of sports. This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
I think it's pretty disruptive, much like the way I was at the Slim Chickens last time. tried to play that card.
Kent is out here trying to be disruptive in the sports media scene and in your local Slim Chickens.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
The recent reports have been that Odell Beckham Jr. is going to, quote, take some time to decide on where he ends up next. I thought, who better to talk about that with than one of the most prominent free agents in recent memory in the Kansas City media scene, Kent Swanson.
Well, Joshua, I was going to take some time away from this program, too. Honestly, I was going to mull over whether or not I even really wanted to participate in this fine program.
Sure.
But I'm here. I'm ready to work. I'm committed. I'm excited to talk to you again. It feels like it's been a few weeks, so I'm excited.
It has. And, you know, much like Odell, you're going to have probably 6 or 7 weeks to kind of prove to the world that, you know, you do deserve that big second contract. And then you're going to end up in Jacksonville or something.
Here's my problem, Josh. I've shown spots on my calendar on Wednesdays. I've been open.
Oh. Well, I just haven't been here.
Yeah, well, I had my dad tweet out a lot of instances on my calendar where I've been open on Wednesdays to talk, and it just hasn't worked out. So I'm very disappointed.
How has the calendar life been going? Because that's really what I stay up at night staring at my ceiling, wondering if you took any of my calendar advice.
I'm driving down the road with my wife the other day, and she turns to me and she says, "We really need to get a family calendar together." And the only thing I could think about is how excited you would be to hear that my wife is starting to become Team Josh on this situation.
This is going to sound inflammatory, but I have to explain in an audio medium what I'm doing right now, and my hands are open like you just blew coverage behind me and I'm Tyrann Mathieu. Like, that is genuinely naturally, my arms just flew into the air because, yes, you need a family calendar. You can share Google Calendar events with your wife. You guys can have a shared calendar, your individual calendars. There's so many great little twists and turns of having a shared calendar.
Well, and you know what? I would make sure to put this little time slot for sure on my calendar as well, if that we were ever going to get to that point. But it is kind of getting a little hectic around here. I got a kindergartner now, so like the schedule's starting to fill up a little bit here, more there, and I don't know. Like life is crazy. Life is crazy. Life is chaos right now over here.
I thought for a second there you were going to say, before you said you were going to put this radio program, your standing appointment on Wednesdays, etc., on there, I thought you were going to say that you were going to put me on in the calendar so like I could just be there, you know, and also check in on what your day-to-day is like. And I really like the idea of me just getting a notification that just says like dentist. And it's like, I'm not going to the dentist. Oh, this is from Kent's. Oh, Kent's going to the dentist today. Oh, I hope he doesn't have any cavities.
You know what? Like that actually, I kind of want that. I want you to see that. I maybe a little form of birth control, perhaps, for you as well in this season of life.
I was so confused by what that sentence meant for a second.
You could just see all the requirements of being a dad here. I mean, you know.
My immediate thought was that at just like 11:45 p.m. I just get a ding on my phone and it just says from Kent's calendar.
No, Joshua.
I'm watching. That's the next week is just ding Kent's calendar. I'm watching. Hello.
I simultaneously ring your doorbell while the notification goes off. This is all coming together real nice.
Yeah, you know what? So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and opt out of the Swanson family calendar, but I do wish the best of calendar appointments on you, and I hope that you come around there. But I If you want to just share some highlights every once in a while, that's fine. But I definitely don't think I need the consistent updates. You know.
I mean, you know, I could let you know from time to time when I'm hitting up Costco or something, and we can give you some highlight levels and all that good stuff. It'll be good.
That'd be great. Yeah, I also do think it's funny that you think that maybe I'm not already pretty much made my choices on how I feel about children at the moment. You know, of like, hey, look, I just want you to realize that sometimes being a dad sucks. It's like, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's what I would have guessed.
It never sucks. It's just the time commitment. You were just going to be flabbergasted by the insanity and chaos. It's great.
How has the dual child new 2 deep safety system been going? By the way, so you got one in kindergarten now. You've got the baby. What is life like in the Swanson family household?
It's a lot of fun, man. And like the first few months, like it's a lot. Maybe I should just send you a notification every time I'm awake. Maybe I should do that because it's a lot. Like we're up a lot. Our kid gets up probably 3-4 times a night, and that definitely like throws a wrench in everything, and it makes you exhausted all the time. But it's worth it all. And my oldest kid's loving it, and he loves being a big bro. And life's good, man. Like this is what you do it for.
I get mad whenever the dog wakes me up before 8 a.m. to go outside.
Oh, you are in for some treats in your future at some point here, man.
That's where
but
I'm at.
if you stay on the calendar, that will be delayed for even further.
That sounds good. Yeah, I'll look, whatever you got to do, I'll give you my email, and you can give me whatever level of notifications you think are necessary.
All of them. Okay.
Yeah, boy. Okay. You know what? Yeah. So my email is rudy.salazar at AOL.netscape.org.
Perfect. On it.
Is AOL? I'm going to Google that. There have to be people still on AOL mail servers, right? Is AOL mail still around? Let's Google that real quick, and then I'll ask you about a Chiefs question here. Well, the AOL brand is gone, but could I email rudy.salazar@aol.com?
I think, you know what, I'm doing some internet sleuthing here too. I'm pretty sure it's still an account.
It's gotta be.
I'm pretty sure you can still do it. I think I'm looking in the top right corner AOL.com, and there is an envelope there. That is
good.
An email.
Okay, excellent. You know how you used to get like the CDs and like cereal boxes or whatever? Did you ever get a good one? Because I remember, I think that my first exposure to backyard baseball was from like a cereal box, and that ruled.
So I did not get one from for AOL. I got these demos for a PlayStation 1 from Pizza Hut.
Oh, yes.
Oh, buddy. It was my first exposure to like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I'm pretty sure like Cool Borders and like all these other games. I burned a hole in those.
Yeah.
Like we got our PlayStation for like $20 at a garage sale, and then our games for the longest time were just Pizza Hut Pizza Hut demo games, and it was like that is like a whole year of my life playing those.
Let's see. I have Googled PlayStation Pizza Hut demo disc and have a few different results here. Was there a little Crash Bandicoot on there, or maybe that's Crash Racing?
No, I think this was even before Crash Racing. I think it would have been like they were like blue. Like one of them was like blue, I think. Maybe.
I see a blue and a green one here. It looks like.
Oh, I think I had a blue and I had a blue and a red one. Maybe
was the blue one Spyro, or is that also two? Those would have come out around the same time, I think. A big Spyro guy.
Okay, maybe it was Crash Team Racing because now I've Googled it too. Yeah.
Little Ape Escape, little Final Fantasy, little Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Yeah, Crash Team Racing. Yeah, it was a pretty good racing game.
Oh my, dude, it was so good. I was pretty lame though on the Gran Turismo. I used to play as the Miata, just because I thought it was a cool car. And I think there's like a Geo Metro too.
I don't think I have played that. Sorry, there was just like a Miata in a Crash Racing game.
Oh, sorry, not Crash. Sorry, I was talking about Gran Turismo. I thought I heard you said racing games, so I was just thinking of other ones too.
Okay.
Crash Team Racing is just like
That's
their
fine.
blatant attempt to try to compete with Mario Kart. Which,
absolutely.
I mean, it was a valiant effort.
Yes, you can't always get the name brand of everything, right? You got to pick your spots. Crash Racing, that was, I would say, successful enough. There's some.
It's like Pepsi. That was like the Pepsi of the racing games. Like I'm not trying to call it like Walmart brand
right
Mario Kart. It was good. It just wasn't Coke. That's all.
Like there's all the Super Smash games, obviously, and then at one point I think on the Game Boy Advance, I think it would have been, I had something. It was something along the lines of like Shrek Brawlers or something like that. And that is sort of your RC Cola.
I see. Like that one might be like your great choice brand.
Yeah.
Like that one. That's bottom of the barrel. That's just desperate reaches with merchandising, in my opinion.
You say that, but I think maybe you should go try Shrek Super Slam, which is what it's actually called. I'm gonna find a copy of it. I'll send it to your house. What's your address again?
I'm not telling you, but I'm not telling you. But maybe I'll send it to you on the calendar someday. We'll see.
Fair enough. Put a calendar event for buy me a copy of Shrek Super Slam.
I'll set an appointment for you to come play Shrek Super Slam on whatever gaming console you so choose.
I would love that. It will cost me $14 to get it on eBay. I think that's only a fair price.
It's not that bad. We're fine.
We can handle that. Because
I'll go have these on it.
Ooh, that's good. I'll tell you what, if you're thinking, I don't know if I'd spend $14 on that, you could spend your money in a much better place by going to kcsn.substack.com. You can subscribe to the KC Sports Network. You're going to get great written content through the Substack from Kent and all of the KCSN folks. Plus, you've got all the other podcasts, all of the things you guys are doing from a video perspective, all your live stuff. What's your what's something that you want to give me something outside of the Substack that people should know? Tell me about the podcast. Give me a quick podcast plug that maybe people don't know about, and then we'll talk about Chief stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, the KC Sports Network YouTube page has a lot of great podcasts as well. We've got wonderful shows with, Jeff Allen and Mike DeVito are doing an awesome show that I honestly think is the most underrated program in the city. I think what they're doing is great. We've got all kinds of special, shows too with we got Matt Castle breaking down video or breaking down plays every week. We had Derek Johnson on. With Mike DeVito and Craig Stout breaking down defensive plays last week. So we got a lot of cool stuff going on there on the YouTube page, the podcast channel. Those are all of our shows. You can find them on the YouTube channel, but you can also find them on basically any podcast channel as well.
So you can find all that out. Also, you can follow Kent on Twitter at Kent_Swanson. He's so far behind me at this point, barely even feels like a battle anymore. Just a pity plug for the Twitter account just to try to get him close again. How many Twitter followers do you have? I'm afraid you may have caught up again.
One giant diabetic meltdown away. So, you know what? I've still got that card. You played yours, and I'll just play mine, and we'll see what happens.
That sounds good. Since we haven't actually gotten to do a segment in a little while, I'm gonna go big picture with you first, and we can zoom in on a couple things from the Packers game or whatever. But how are you feeling right now about just the state of the Kansas City Chiefs, considering that? I think the last time we talked might have been either right before or right after Washington, so a lot of ground has been covered. Even if it was a week after that, there's obviously been some interesting, weird football.
I think that's a great way of summarizing it, but there's probably a lot of other adjectives that could really do a great job describing this bizarre season. It's been weird, man. I can't completely put my finger on it yet, and I don't necessarily feel good about this team. Winning definitely makes you feel better, but I mean, you look at this team, you look at where they're at. They've failed every big test that they've had, and I guess this win against the Packers was nice without Aaron Rodgers, but and then the defense did good and all that stuff, but I still look at this team, and their body of work's not anything to write home about. So anybody doubting this team, I think, absolutely should still feel, some level of concern about the outlook of this team moving forward. I kind of said, and this is it became a bit in a hashtag no loss November on Twitter, but that's what's going to make me feel better about this team. I'll go back to being an insufferable Patrick Mahomes stan if this team goes undefeated in November, and they're halfway there. The tests haven't been what we thought they were going to be with Aaron Rodgers, but now you go to Las Vegas, you go and then play the Cowboys after that. You come out of those two games 2-0. We can start having some conversations about the team, really being a legitimate Super Bowl contender moving forward. But man, these issues that we keep seeing, we still are. We still saw it with the Packers game too. Offensively, a lot of struggles. Defense was good, but man, like offensively, there's a lot there.
I have said for a while, and I think that this remains true, that almost anybody you could point a finger at and you could get some amount of blame or concern or underperforming or some sort of issue, whatever. Maybe not the interior offensive line, I guess. So you don't have to worry about them. They're good. But if I was going to say, hey, pick the one thing right now that you are most concerned about, which obviously has to be a combination of that part's impact on the rest of the game, but also, your concern that maybe it won't get fixed. What would you sort of consider like issue number one at this point?
Yikes, that's hard. I think the pass catchers. I think that's I think Mahomes shares some of that too, but I think the pass catchers is the big one here, and you see Travis Kelce. Really, struggling to get open a little bit at times because of the halo technique that Andy's talked about. They're just grabbing them. Tyreek Hill has been effectively neutered, and the lack of trust about every single other, offensive pass catcher on this team that Mahomes has, I think is just totally shining. And I think that's where I look at this team. I look at the lack of confidence that Mahomes has in his supporting cast outside of Kelce and Hill. That teams have been able to more effectively take those guys away a little bit better. Travis Kelce's getting old. I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30, and I'm not saying he's declining, rapidly, but he's not the same guy he was, 3 years ago. And, Tyreek Hill, teams have done a fantastic job of keeping a lid on him. So if those two things are happening and maybe there's a little bit of regression from a Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, kind of being contained, who's going to do anything else for you? And I think this is really where we're seeing a lot of issues and why this team is struggling. Why Patrick Mahomes is slowly just losing confidence in his pass-catching weapons is because there's not a lot of guys that have gone out there and proven anything.
Let's talk about Odell Beckham. You had a really interesting piece of analysis on Twitter where you touched on this, and I don't have it in front of me, so you're gonna have to clarify if I don't get all of the specifics right. But you think that Odell Beckham is better than Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson and McCole Hardman, and you could try to convince me of that if you want, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be an uphill battle here, man.
Yeah.
I don't really know exactly what Odell Beckham is from how far removed from peak Odell Beckham he is. But what I do know is he's a better pass-catching option than anything the Chiefs have right now. And that's, Josh Gordon too. We'll see if we can figure out a way, if the Chiefs can figure out a way to kind of get Josh Gordon involved a little bit differently. Because I still think he's got some skill sets there and some abilities. It's just he's taken a long time to kind of get integrated and stuff. But man, I think what Odell Beckham is at this point in his career is still extremely valuable. And man, it sounds like the Chiefs are in on him. There's little bits and pieces here that seem to indicate he's taking his time now, which just kind of screams everything we've heard the last 24 hours is completely pointless and doesn't mean a single thing. He's close to signing with the Packers. He's close to signing with the Patriots. The Patriots are coming with a substantial offer, and now the Seahawks. If he's taking his time, that tells me that there's not as much substance to all this buzz that we've been hearing, so I don't know what to believe anymore. But he helps. He helps his football team a lot. He's the best option they're going to get the rest of the season.
Give me a little bit of some of the details of where he fits in this offense that strikes you and makes you go, yeah, this would make a lot of sense.
Oh, he fits perfectly. This is a guy that can play that X position at a high level. He still has an exceptional route tree. He's a guy that, can win and catch a contested slant. He's a guy that can play above the rim. We know he's got a big catch radius and an outstanding high hand-eye coordination, some good catches that he's had in his career, obviously. And I know some people think he's just kind of rested on that catch, that one catch that we all know about. I think there's more to him than that. But he fits perfectly, and he's a guy that can operate in some of the areas the Chiefs have really struggled. I think he can win in a lot of different areas of the field. I think he's really good finding soft spots in zones, and I think he can beat, physical press coverage. So those are really qualities and traits that this team needs. And, I mean, he's got enough versatility that he can line up and move along a lot of different places that, you know, they try to move their X receiver too. Like Sammy Watkins wasn't a true traditional X all the time. You know, he'd operate really well in those bunches and those kind of situations too. So I think this is a guy that can really add a lot to this team.
This is sort of a combination of our last two little topics, I guess. But if you take Odell Beckham and plug him into this offense, do you think that it's sort of the Sammy Watkins effect, as we learned how to talk about him better over the years, do you think that there is a change in how defenses would have to defend the Chiefs? And or do you think that Beckham then becomes one of those guys that if you're paying all your attention to Hill and Kelsey, that Beckham is more likely to actually make defenses pay for that than anybody else currently on the roster?
Yeah, I don't think they change. I don't think anything's changing. I think teams are going to continue to operate the way they've operated. They're going to play this two-high structure, mixing things up with that two-shell look. They're going to force the Chiefs to drive down the field. They're going to really focus on eliminating explosive plays. But he makes them pay. And I think that's kind of the thing you said at the end there is, like, yes, you know, nothing's going to change how teams play them because of Odell Beckham, I don't think, but he can make teams pay for how they play. Now, they might live with it, and I think that teams will continue to live with it because, you know, forcing long drives and forcing the Chiefs to, you know, make mistakes, which has kind of been the MO of a lot of teams, and it's worked really well. I don't think it's a coincidence that this tight game they just played, they won the turnover battle and didn't turn the football over. But, you know, this is a guy that can make them pay, and like that's the line that you kind of said that I think is the crucial factor. He can be extremely productive if there's not enough attention paid to him.
This is probably a better question for the day after the Chiefs sign him rather than potentially days before or maybe before it never happens at all. But let's say that he does sign here and he's not going to end up playing, you know, the Raiders game, certainly, if it's going to take a couple more days. But do you take anything from how slow the on-ramping has been from Josh Gordon, or do you think that reflects more on where Josh Gordon is at right now, more so than what it takes to be a receiver in this offense?
I mean, Odell Beckham's coming in game ready. I mean, this is a guy that's been through, you know, the middle. Yeah, I mean, he's in the middle of the season. So, like, this isn't Josh Gordon kind of ramping up, you know, really struggling to get integrated in the offense. I do think that there's something to be said about the chemistry that Mahomes has with some of his receivers. That's very apparent and obvious. And that's really going to be difficult for him to just step in and pick up with Odell Beckham immediately. But I think, you know, he'll do a good job integrating in, and they'll be able to get some packages for him if he does choose to come to Kansas City, which I genuinely like. I'll be a little bit bummed if he doesn't. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but like this is a guy that can impact the game.
Yeah, and also I don't know. I mean, I you know what? I am pretty confident that you will be able to relate to this, but I just have everybody else fatigue at this point. We spent a long time talking about McCole Hardman. I know you've got plenty of thoughts. You can talk about him as much or as little as you feel like. But I'm kind of tired of talking about McCole Hardman. I'm definitely tired of talking about Demarcus Robinson. I'm kind of tired of talking about Byron Pringle. I might have Josh Gordon fatigue, which is a bummer because I didn't think that was going to go quite this way. But I just think something else interesting would be wonderful at this point because it feels like the offense, especially that position, which you've already talked about, like it just feels kind of stagnant, and it feels like we know who everybody is at this point.
Well, just look at this last game, and I'm not going to just talk about, it's just a one-game sample size. I get it, but Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, 68 yards, 37 yards. Jerick McKinnon, 3 catches for 26 yards. And then everybody else is McCole Hardman, 3 catches, 20 yards, 6.7 yards per catch, which is basically like a running back. And, you know, Demarcus Robinson, 1 catch, 2 yards. No catches for Josh Gordon on 1 target. No targets for Byron Pringle. This is not a group that has shown an ability to really do much of anything. I think, you know, McCole Hardman, I think it's the discussion, the discourse about McCole Hardman, the optimism about, you know, his outlook. Like, he's still the exact same guy he's been. And in fact, the Chiefs are it kind of seems like the Chiefs are so done with him continuing to be the same guy he's always been that they really haven't opened things up for him, because the only way he's really been able to effectively get involved within this offense has largely been plays behind the line of scrimmage. His average depth of target is like 6.7 yards, which is like, it's in tight end running back territory. Yeah. It's like the worst on the team. And so you've kind of got he's a gadget player. He's a touchdown, check down gadget player that's not really making any plays down the field at all anymore. And that's kind of what he's been reduced to. So now you're looking at Byron Pringle and Demarcus Robinson as guys that can maybe operate 0 to 20 yards, and we've seen what's happened there. Be it drops, be it a lack of trust, lack of getting open. Those are big problems. Those are big holes in this offensive structure that are really kind of starting to come to light. And that's why they need a guy like Odell Beckham.
Yeah. Where are you at on Mahomes right now with the last few weeks that he's put out? Also, if you want to go into discourse, the Patrick Mahomes taking what the defense gives him discourse that has, I will tip my hand and say frustratingly, I think largely been boiled down to one deep shot on 1st and 10 that I personally wasn't upset about. But where are you on what we've seen from Mahomes the last few weeks?
Well, I mean, I think there's just a long list of issues, a long list of excuses too that I feel like you can comfortably excuse away some things. Like, we probably didn't take into consideration how hard it was going to be, for him to kind of get accustomed to his offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's a big one. I think that's part of it. So you've got that. You've got teams doing a really good job of taking things away. You've got a lack of, depth along the, pass catcher offensive weapons that are really struggling to get open, that are really struggling to find ways to contribute and all that. So you've got those issues. And then I think all of those things combined, there's a lack of confidence there from Mahomes. I mean, there does seem some, a lack of confidence to fire in some of the areas that he's used to firing. It doesn't seem like the keep firing mantra that we've heard so much between Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes that this offense has kind of breathed over the last 4 amazing, incredible seasons. We're not seeing that same kind of, energy. So I think there's probably a little bit of, some of this being coached out of him because they are trying to take what the defense gives you. But largely, I think he's coming out of it. I think, there was more positive indicators in that game than people want to admit. And so I think there's been marginal growth. I think he was better in the pocket this week.
Yeah.
I think that was a lot better. I loved that he challenged and he took some shots down the field. He's really trying to force the issue a little bit. I think, teams, the thing that's really bothered me with the Chiefs is they're not the aggressor anymore. And they need to kind of start being that a little bit more here and there. And we say teams aren't afraid of them. Well, they got to make some teams a little bit more afraid of them. Yeah. And I think they got to push the issue a little bit more here and there. So there's a lot of micro issues leading to this. I think he's coming out of it. I don't think he's been as bad. And boy, that frustration he let out at the end of that game against the Packers. I think there's a chance that we look back at that moment, that fist pump, that expletive he screamed as a moment where we said that's when Mahomes snapped out of it and that's when the season turned around. Because that offensively could just be, we'll find out against the Raiders, but that could be a big moment for this team.
I will point out here, in case you're wondering, dear listener, man, I wish someone would write about the conclusion of that game and what happened there going into that moment. And I would tell you, you're in luck, because you could go to kcsn.substack.com and read Kent's piece about it. Whenever you looked specifically at that drive and specifically at that moment, that being the culmination of it there, what did you uncover whenever you went back through all that?
I mean, it just looked like that drive looked a lot like Mahomes vintage this offense, and it culminated with that final play, right? And it was great because they tried to run the ball and it didn't work too. So it was really
it was really vintage, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, they ran the ball on first down 9 straight times in that game. They only had 1 first down pass in the second half. It was that Josh Gordon drop to start the second half. So they were just trying to kill that clock and just run it into the ground. But that final drive, you saw a lot of the little things, some creativity within the offensive structure. Getting your stars involved and getting your stars involved out of structure. So there was a lot of really positive indicators there at the end of that game where you said, okay, maybe that was a moment for this team that they just kind of reminded themselves that they are who they are. They're the juggernaut best offense in the world, the scariest thing in professional sports, I will argue. I mean, the Chiefs offense, when it is humming, is scarier than the Golden State Warriors at their peak. It is scarier than, I don't know, the Astros lineup.
I was going to say the Royals bullpen when it was good, because that's the only baseball thing I can think of.
I was trying to be more modern, but
but I haven't watched baseball since then, so... That's not true. I haven't watched good baseball since then because I've watched the Royals exclusively.
Yeah, so like they just haven't been the inevitability that they've been, and it feels like maybe they reminded themselves that they are Thanos, whatever. And I pronounce it wrong. I get made fun of sometimes for that.
I was gonna let it go.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's so normal of you to just let things that I do go. But yeah, this seems an inevitability, and I hope they get back to that DNA, that identity, because there's too much talent, and they have the best player in the world, and I don't want them to waste a season of that.
Yeah, no kidding. On that note, I love the idea that, hey, this team isn't being the aggressor right now, and that kind of stinks because that's an excellent way of looking at it. But it also feels kind of funny to say that after these several weeks of so many people talking about taking what the defense is giving and all of that, which there's something to, right? I mean, you don't want to force nonsense, but how do you meet that medium where they still look like the Kansas City Chiefs offense, but also, if the linebackers are backpedaling at the snap and the safeties are 47 yards downfield, that you can, hand it off and take your 7 yards and move on. How should they be balancing that?
I mean, they have before, and that's the thing that's so interesting, is this is not a new script. Like, this is what a lot of teams did to them last year, and they were just exceptional and dominant, and, they were able to kind of take stuff that was just sitting in front of them. But I think, the thing that's interesting, that I think that's kind of changed is, teams have really kind of started to challenge at the line of scrimmage a little bit more on some of these offensive weapons than they used to. So, yeah, they were playing a little bit soft. They're trying to keep things in front of them, force long drives, yada, yada, yada last year. But there was a lot of easy layups that they were just taking immediately. Mahomes, here's the thing. Mahomes is taking layups, but he's taking sometimes the layups are McCole Hardman, like on that final drive. It's a little hitch. And things like turning the football over are happening at an alarming rate where, if you can force McCole Hardman on a hitch route to beat you, you're going to do it. That's where I think you get frustrated with some of these pass-catching options. But I think what they did to try to, kind of push the ball and force the ball down the field a little bit, keep teams honest, could help maybe soften some things, especially if they start hitting on a couple of these the next couple of weeks.
We didn't talk about the defense at all, and I'm okay with that. Is there one thing defensively you're like, hey, look at that, enjoy that next week, or maybe this will come around? There are lots of places I feel like we could go, but I'm gonna say pick one defensive thing and then I'll let you go.
Frank Clark is good.
Yeah, it's been good.
We're not. I know like the discourse about him, and like I'm not saying none of it has been justified, but the healthiest Frank Clark we've seen in a while, the densest Frank Clark that's been able to maintain weight, like this dude's played pretty well. He's got some juice off the edge. He's playing with power. Looks like he can feel his hands, which is always a nice thing to have in a pass rusher.
Literally physically feel his fingertips, which has been an issue. I would remind everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, like this is nice. And he's not worth the cap hit, and he was never going to be worth the cap hit that he's got right now. But he's playing pretty good football, and he deserves some respect for that. I think that if the Chiefs are going to turn this around, Frank Clark, Chris Jones rushing, Melvin Ingram rushing, those guys setting the tempo up there and really affecting the passer is going to go a long way. And if this team can help, pull this thing together and go on and do what we kind of expected them to do at the beginning of the year.
I agree 1,000%. If you want to just read more from people who agree with me, that's not always true. Although I got to tell you, Matt and I have been agreeing on a lot recently, and it makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
This is what world are we living in? I'm so confused. But no, you guys need to do a buddy cop movie. That's what we need. The crossover event of the century.
Yeah. Look, you guys work on the scripts. Put it in the calendar. I'll see it whenever you guys want to get together and have a brainstorming session. Just hop in the Google Calendar and I'll see it, like the watching eye of God that you are.
Yeah, I will, and my people will talk to your people, and we'll get this thing put together. Yeah.
That sounds good. It's Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network. Go to kcsportsnetwork.com for the homepage of everything. You can even buy shirts there, and Kent won't yell at me about it. And you can go to kcsn.substack.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Kent_Swanson. There's all the stuff on the YouTube, all the podcasts, all of the written stuff. Just go to one of those pages, and you'll probably find the rest of it there.
Yeah, and also if you buy a subscription right now, go ahead and if you do, we're gonna send 5 cookies to a teacher in Kansas City, to teachers in Kansas City. So we're trying to do Feed It Forward as well.
I forgot about that, and I'm really glad I did not successfully throw to break right before you mentioned that, because that would have been pretty awkward. Thank you, Kent.
Anytime, buddy.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you
Into our ads, you get some little PP up.
We have ads for that.
Yeah.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rudy, you know the Kicks Under Cost Twitter account. Do you still follow that?
I do, yes.
I don't think I've ever actually bought anything through that.
Me neither.
But it's kind of nice to just see it every once in a while and I think, you know what? If I had a little more money, I would feel okay buying these expensive sneakers on sale.
It's always the Adidas. What's like their main brand? Why can't I remember their main?
Their Ultra Boost.
Ultra Boost, yeah, because the Ultra Boost
got those Stan Smiths.
So clean.
Yeah, well, so two kind of caught my eye back to back earlier tonight. One, and I don't think that these are necessarily on sale on their own, but 25% off with free shipping for the new Patrick Mahomes. I think this is the signature one, but not the green one, but the one that's got like kind of a wavy like zebra print and also some like rainbow little like splashes, which I prefer to the original ones that got launched. But there are still some strange choices of that. These I actually think are pretty dope and very on brand for me. But that I thought was interesting to see pop up there, but that's not what really caught my eye. Rudy, do me a favor and just go ahead and Google something for me. I'm just going to go ahead and dictate it as I go. You feel free to play along at home. Google.
I'm ready.
Adidas.
Adidas.
Rivalry. High. H-I. Chewbacca.
Sure. Oh, Google did it for me. Huh. These are a shoe.
I'm going to go ahead and do my best in an audio medium, but I would just suggest that you go ahead and Google it. It's like a high top basketball shoe with, the Adidas stripes on the side, except for in pretty much every place that would typically be like the base color.
Yeah.
It's beige fur.
So they've got a whole Star Wars line. There's a C-3PO one. There's a Skywalker, Boba Fett.
Oh, these also have the bandolier over the front. I actually clicked through for the first time.
I'm on the StockX page. Last sale, $69.
Nice.
It's not a...
For the Chewbacca ones?
Yeah.
That's below retail. Because I'm on the Adidas website right now. I can apparently use this 25% off code. They don't have them 10.5s, unfortunately.
Apparently, they weren't, I guess, that much in demand.
That's sort of but here's the thing. How much for a 10.5?
Like the Skywalker, $350.
Okay, how did you get there? It's just StockX?
Yeah.
Adidas Star Wars?
So I actually just typed in the shoe, and the StockX was the first page that popped up.
I'm just trying to be able to see them all. How are you seeing all of them all at once?
It's just in the related products underneath.
So I'm clicking on Darth Vader ones they look sort of like an Ultra Boost. I don't think they actually are. Now the photos aren't loading in the... I'm going to just go ahead and go through the whole collection here.
There.
I'm just going to do Adidas Star Wars collection here.
Yeah, that's fair.
Specifically, though, the Chewbacca ones have full-on Wookiee fur.
My guess is it's 60. Yeah, this is for U.S. men's size 8.5. Size 10.
10.5 would be nice.
132.
Still cheaper than Adidas.com.
Okay. Size 14, 450.
Okay, well, you know what they say about big shoes.
Weirdly enough,
expensive shoes.
Size 5.5, 135.
I don't know if I could wear shoes with fur on it.
You could.
Fur out, looks like it's growing out of it.
You could.
I mean, I could.
You could.
Every once in a while, that damn Twitter account will get me to where I see the code and I go through and I look at all the stuff on sale on any given website. And then ultimately, it's am I going to spend $80 right now? Maybe later. And I'll leave it open in the tab. Then later I go, I'm not going to buy any of this bleep. And then I just close the tab. I'm sure that's happening again now with these Chewbacca shoes. Well, excuse me. These Chewbaccas. The Air Chewbaccas, they call them. It's just very enticing.
They're not bad.
What's the most you've ever spent on a pair of shoes?
Probably low 100.
You got the Miles Morales ones that you have, which are expensive. I haven't seen those. Crack those out.
I know it's one of those weird things with shoes like that, where it's I was actually listening to the Ringerverse, which is like their nerd, their nerd. They basically have 2 episodes each week. One of them's Mallory Rubin, another one's the Midnight Boys. Very great. It's Van Lathan and Charles. I forget his last name. He does their music show with like Shea Serrano and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he talks about I was just like, I'm listening to him, just like we're on the same page right now, because he's like, he wanted the Kanye Yeezys, like when they were first, like the very first ones, right? And like he saved up money for them, and he got them, and he just basically they just sat there.
Yeah.
He wore them like 3 times, but every time he walked by and looked at them, he just like smiled,
right?
Because it was just something that he bought, something he just got, right? Like something that he owned, that he really wanted. It was like his first adult purchase.
Sure,
right? Like, I'm an adult.
absolutely.
I just bought something I like. I kind of feel the same thing with the shoes, where it's like, I don't wear them a ton because I'm kind of scared to wear them. But man, when I look at them, I smile.
I think if they're like out or somewhere you can see them and they make you happy, then it's probably they're probably doing their job.
I need to wear them a little bit more because also I don't plan on reselling them.
Right.
I don't have much of a desire.
And Jordans, if you ever see an old sort of banged up pair of Jordans,
yeah,
they still look great.
Yeah, I don't have a ton. Like I'm not trying to like keep this in mint condition to resell.
Don't
for $1,000
draw on
one
them
day.
in Sharpie.
Yeah,
but if they just age naturally, you're gonna be all right.
So I need to wear them more. And like my goal is, I'm not really much of a shoe person, but except for the Jordan retro high tops, like the Jordan 1 retro high tops.
I've been looking at Jordan 1 retro high tops for so long.
I would like to.
Never bought a pair.
Because I like buying through StockX just because I know they're legit there. And honestly, you can find really good prices. Some of them are crazy expensive, and some are like $120. And I would just kind of like to eventually have a Jordan retro high in just about like every color.
Wow.
Just for the wardrobe, right? So like,
this is ultimate reality, Rudy, who doesn't work in sports radio.
Yeah, if I'm wearing a green shirt, you know what I'm wearing? I'm wearing the green Jordans. Like if I'm wearing a blue shirt, you know what I'm wearing? I'm wearing the blue Jordans. Like that's the dream. I went to a store, like when I went to at Crown Center, I never, I've already forgotten the name of it. After we went to the aquarium over the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just a sneakers, like not like your normal store, but it's like meant for sneakerheads. And on the wall at Crown Center.
At Crown Center,
yeah,
really?
And on the wall were just Jordans everywhere, like every Jordan I've ever seen, like the retro high ones. And now the person, one of the people who I was there with was like, it's almost impossible to find like your size because like 10 to 12s are basically just always sold out because everybody wears 10 to 12.
Were they individually like wrapped in the like shrink film that they always have on the sneaker shopping videos? They're just sitting out there.
Not these ones. They just had one of each shoe like on display, and there was probably 300 shoes on this wall of like the creme of the creme, right? Like these are the best of the best shoes. These are the shoes you seek out. These are the ones that the sneakerheads want.
I'm just scrolling through Flight Club right now, just looking at all of these Jordan ones, because I think that's my like that is the shoe that I have nearly pulled the trigger on the most.
It's a comfy shoe. It's a great looking shoe. I'm not really a sneakerhead. I don't really like they're very.
It's an expensive hobby, man.
Yeah, there's very few shoes that I think look that good. The Jordan retro, the Jordan 1 retro high top is that shoe. I just think it's the best looking shoe. And I don't know, man. It's just like I was obsessed with the Mellows growing up. So like those were the most expensive shoes. I was buying those every year for basketball, but that's because I was a Carmelo fan. Now the first Mellows I still love. Like that.
What am I googling to find these here?
I guess just like the Mellow ones probably.
I'm gonna see if I can find
by like the third rendition, they started looking a little weird, but I kept buying them because they were Mellows, right? Because it's mellow.
I googled Mellow 1 shoes, and the first result is Big Baller Brand MB1. Oh God, oh Rudy, you're gonna feel old and depressed. It's because it's short for LaMelo. I searched Mellow 1s, and it gave me LaMelos. Not Carmelos.
Yeah, I've got them. I'm looking at some. I don't remember which was the first one, though, but I'm looking at these shoes. I'm like, yeah, I remember having that shoe, and I remember having this shoe, and I just don't remember which was, like, the first one.
Oh, I remember I've seen these Mellows before. The Carmelos, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I very, very, very often, I'm just wearing checkerboard Vans. I'm probably going to actually finally buy some Tim's soon because last winter I was like, I just wish I would have just bought the Timbs that I agonized over for a while. We really need to take a break, huh?
Yeah,
And
I realize we definitely do. Right
I've got these Chelsea boots that I wear now a lot, and I'm just destroying them slowly because I wear them all the time. I don't want to have to think about protecting my shoes. But also, none of my shoes currently have Wookiee fur on them, and I might have to change that.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely.
Of our hometown team in red. Come see why they are champions too.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Who would you rather have as president, a baby or a puppy?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I feel like I need to give a quick late night apology to the Twitch chat because I'm honestly just out of practice, and so I have been every time I've looked over at the Twitch chat, I've seen something. Gone, man, I wish we had more time to talk about that, and then I forget again. Lots of good stuff in the Twitch chat. Great to be back doing the show again. Great to see you guys over here, Twitch chat. But Aspen said, I keep getting Instagram ads for Adidas Monsters Inc. shoes. So I've Googled Monsters Inc. Adidas.
Love the Instagram ad.
There are some fuzzy Stan Smith silhouettes with Sully's color pattern, and I think maybe a little Mike Wazowski on the back. Plus,
Chiefs linebacker, legend.
Mike Wazowski, Donovan Mitchell shoes.
NFL NBA collab.
There's actually a lot of Monsters Inc. Adidas shoes. I think this one's inspired by that orange monster that gets the sock stuck on him and you have to shave him and put him in the cone. Twitch chat, I appreciate you, but you may have cost me some money tonight. We'll see. Although if I